Warning, the Stone Age Gamer includes a lot of bad language. Cover your mother ears.
Good evening and welcome to the Stone Age Gamer Podcast. I am Kris Randazzo and joining me tonight is floating jellyfish Dan Ryan.
The floatiest of jellyfishes, Kris.
Nice rubbery exterior. The Metroid franchise celebrated its 35th birthday last week, so this week we're going to do our thing and rank every game in the franchise. Dust off your ice beam because the Stone Age Gamer Podcast starts now. Hello everyone, this is episode 371. It's the week of August 13th, 2021. I did have time to write a script. You are listening to this possibly on Friday the 13th.
Ooh, spooky! And we suck so bad at this that not only last week, on the anniversary of Metroid, did we not have the Metroid episode, but this week, on a Friday the 13th, we don't have anything Friday the 13th-y.
It's
which
not
is
October
a
yet.
Word. I know, but still.
No spookiness yet. I draw a line, sir. I draw a fucking line.
All right, that's fair.
Shall we jump right into let's
do it. Let's jump right into the news. I'm very excited about the email that came out late Friday into Saturday morning from Mr. Tallarico.
Yes, indeed. It was. I was up at this point, and I was getting ready to turn off my lights when I got the notification at midnight, or exactly midnight. I'm looking up the email right now, actually, because I was an email notification from Intellivision letting us know that there it is, Intellivision Amico update. It's a pretty short email. I'll go ahead and read it. Intellivision together again, because we've been apart for so long. The team at Intellivision has been working tirelessly to bring Amico, our family-focused entertainment system, to eager households around the world. We've grown to eager. Yes.
So eager.
We've grown to a strong and stable company of more than 60 passionate team members spanning 3 continents, representing some of the industry's best talent. Sorry, there's a double space after the period, and it's driving me crazy. And it wouldn't bother me that much if this wasn't the only one. But
sure.
This is the only one. Every other one is a single space after a period. This one has a double space. Sorry. All of us are extremely excited to share Amico with you. We originally planned to launch the Amico in the fall of 2020, but had to adapt during the midst of the global pandemic disrupting our production. Despite our best efforts, and now facing new, unprecedented international component supply and logistics challenges beyond our control, we want to apologize as we are forced to push our desired launch date yet again. In spite of these supply hurdles hampering our ability to fill all orders, we are focused and determined to deliver pre-ordered units by the end of the year.
It's good to be both of those things.
Yes.
One of the two,
same time.
Not good enough.
No.
Focused or determined? Meh.
No.
Not going to cut it, but focused.
But unfocused? That's what I like.
you know the problems I've been having with my unfocused determination. I can't even fucking get it out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what that deserved. Don't even fucking follow it up. I fucked it up. You just keep going.
Now, you remember that one, right? Where he came up with a really, really, really long one, and then Ollie's response was just, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, this will also allow us more time to optimize our operating system for future game development.
Optimizing. It was supposed to be out a year ago.
Did you see the video from... Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. We want to ensure that those who have anticipated the Amico for so long get a chance to enjoy it as soon as possible. Of course, we will keep all of our customers and interested parties informed and updated on our continued progress. Everyone at Intellivision wants to thank you, our dedicated fans and loyal followers, for your enthusiasm and incredible unwavering support for Amico. As a special thank you to everyone who has pre-ordered an Amico, we will be sending out a very special thank you gift to you via email next week. We cannot wait to share with you what we've built and assure you the wait will be worth it. The Intellivision team. So that went out to me and presumably anybody else who's subscribed to the newsletter or whatever. That was on the 7th was officially when it dropped. So it was August 7th at 12 a.m. Now, this was kind of
exactly when you want to report news if you're being upfront and want the most people to see it and digest it. You do it at midnight Friday going into Saturday.
Yep. That's when you do it. That's when you drop it.
Of course. That is marketing 101.
Now, this was coming off the heels of, and I know, Amico bashing is like retro game podcast fodder these days, and if you've been listening to us, you know that we've been in on this ride for a long time. We had Tommy on the show, talked to him for hours.
So we're allowed.
We've earned this.
I can say that some of my best friends are in television Amico supporter.
The video that they showed pretty recently was of, I don't know, it really threw me for a loop. Like, now we've been saying for a while now that if your system was actually supposed to come out in fall of 2020, right? We should
we're a year past launch date.
We should have way more information on what the physical media is, what the games are, and all that like actual more solid stuff on the games themselves at this point, right? But
theoretically, there should be videos of every single game, of like the first level, or like the intro screen, the select screen, like all of that should be out there building hype, right? Like,
because
you would think.
Like the chip shortage, I understand. Like, if that's the problem, then that's your console production, and you want to delay that stuff all day long. And okay, I get that. You want to throw that up and be like, look, we can't make the systems. We can't physically produce the systems, but
we don't have the money to bribe them the way Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo do.
And
like, they just don't.
Yeah, they just don't.
Yeah.
But
and that's okay. Like that's okay.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But that we don't have a better picture of like completed games is what's kind of disturbing, especially remember when he was on the show, he was talking about how that cornhole game was going to be, that's their Wii Sports.
Yeah.
So they showed during that video that came out, was it a week or so ago, of his tour of the office, his jovial tour of the Amico offices, and then he gets to this video of a cornhole, and it looks like, he said it was like a dev screen or something, like, we've taken it back to the bottom work. We're reworking everything about the game. Like, that doesn't fill me with confidence. Why are you showing me this?
Why would you do that?
Wasn't this was your flagship that was supposed to be done a year ago? Now you're showing me that you've taken it down to the bare bones of it, and even then, it's like it's not
good.
No, because it's a
2.5 second delay.
Regardless of the delay, I didn't notice a whole lot in the delay so much as like what you're actually doing was like, so I figured cornhole was going to be like Wii bowling, which is what he kept saying it was, where you pretend to throw the beanbag and then it lands in wherever you wind up throwing it or whatever. Like, okay, but what he was showing in that video is like, now you use the controller to like place a cursor, and then like a power meter or something shows up, and then you like you're basically doing like Wii waggle to replace a button press or something. Like you're not you remember like the Wii bowling, there was the degree of like, how you face the controller or whatever, figured out where the ball was going to go, like in bowling. And this one, it seems more like it's like, I don't know, just replacing a button press with a gesture instead of that. And
which isn't ideal. It's not what you want.
Is that gonna sell systems?
God, no.
Like, how
could it?
I'm profoundly disappointed in this. Like, if you go out and take that somewhere, it's not going to feel like you're, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will, maybe the fact that it's taking all that guesswork out of it will make it feel like you're better at the game or something like that, and it'll all work for the people that you're trying to get this in the hands of. And I'm still like, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around the concept of who this is really for, outside of what he said on our show, where it's funny, I've talked to a handful of people about this recently, and like some of the stuff he said on our show, I don't think he said to a lot of people, about like how he was taking this out to like religious group festivals and stuff. Yeah, like I was talking to somebody else about it, and I mentioned that. He was like, "I'm sorry, what?" It's like, yeah, he said it on our show. Like they're a big sponsor of these like Christian groups and whatnot to sell it on the family values thing. And
yeah, man,
But this is it's really starting to seem gross to me, like a scam, and that's really bothersome. Like, all right, so earlier today they sent out what I didn't realize. I found this on Pat Contreras tweeted about this, actually, which is how I learned about it. Was that he sent was it Republic sent out a thing like, this is the Republic is the name of the crowdfunding thing that he did, which is not, I don't know, by some definition isn't crowdfunding, I guess, but it's crowdfunding. So they sent an update.
It's 100% crowdfunding.
They sent an update to the Republic, so the actual people who have paid a bunch of money for it, today. So today they got the update that the system was delayed, but not really, because the post is incredible video from Crayola, more awards and launch update. So it starts off with this, man, this thing's going to be great. Your money is going to be well invested in this thing. And he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, and this is the video that I was just talking about. The 12th video. I'm actually going to boot that sucker up and take a look at that cornhole footage again, because that was really one of those moments of just like, what? First off, dude has like a serious waxed mustache, who's like the guy in charge of fixing cornhole, apparently. Like, he's got a serious mustache,
like a Gomez Adams mustache.
I mean, yeah, kinda. So like, here it is. Yeah, all right. So there's a little bar on the side that rates your power. So like, you click where you're going to throw, and then you use the Amico remote to determine the power of your throw, right? And then you move your thumb around on the touchscreen to choose your angle. And I want to see him actually throw it. And like, I understand this is like a dev thing, but
still, man,
I'd be kind of curious where the graphics are. Like, did we need to tear it down? I don't understand anything about game development, so I'm in no position to really comment on why this looks the way it does. But boy, I hope this isn't.
But
I
Chris,
hope this isn't the actual state of the game.
We have microphones, Chris. That
so
gives us
we know things.
All the fucking panache that we need to speak on shit. No, like because like, you're right. Like, how bashing the Amico and bashing Tommy. I hate that it rhymes with his fucking name. I hate that so much. The Tallarico Amico. I fucking hate that. Like, I have to stop what I'm doing and hate it with my whole body. Like, it's just, I can't. Anyway, it's the lowest of hanging fruit, right? Like, it's super easy. But I think for me, like, the reason that I at least keep bringing it up is because I know within our circle, right, of listeners and the people that we influence, like, we want this kind of shit to do well, and seeing people rip other people off really pisses me off.
Yeah, because what we were just talking about before the show, and like, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at this video. The guy who's working on the game does not seem happy about this video existing. He just really looks like he's pissed at Tommy for being there showing this off. And I don't know that I'm 100% following exactly how this works, because it doesn't seem like it's exactly like I was just saying, right? You pick a target, and then he was showing off that the remote, depending on how you twist it and whatnot, is changing your angle. And then I think you have to like press a button or something and then swing the remote and then see if it does what you just told it to plan out to do. So
that seems super complicated.
Yeah,
doesn't it? Instead of just holding a button and waving your arm and then letting go of the button.
I think that was the thing that's really setting me aside here, is that I'm watching this video and I'm not 100% sure I understand exactly what he's trying to what they're trying to do here. Like, it looks complicated. There's arrows and stuff everywhere. Now it's the dev screen or whatever, so maybe a lot of that stuff is going to be hidden in the final release. But, you know, what made bowling work was that it was like, here, do this, and then you throw a ball forward and huzzah,
and you did.
See what happens.
And indeed you did.
And indeed you did. So yeah,
for me, like, what really, I don't like people trying to like rip people off. That really pisses me off, because it just doesn't come from a place of like grooviness and honesty, and I fucking hate that. But on top of that too, it takes a brand that I personally do not give two shits about. I was not an Amico kid growing up. Or Amico. I was not an Intellivision guy growing up. It wasn't my thing. But taking these established brands from the past and making them a fucking joke, I take issue with. You know what I mean? I was a Coleco kid. I have very, very fond memories of my Coleco and what has happened to that name in a very small scale, right? Like, it's not world ending or anything like that, but for people who know about it now, it's a fucking sad joke, and that bothers me.
Yeah, no,
because I gave a shit. Yeah. You know, I cared. It meant something to me.
Very much for Intellivision to be a thing, right? That would be pretty neat to have this neat little niche carved into things. But like the what's it? The box, the physical product video that they released. Apparently, what's inside of the physical product is like it's a digital download in a box, basically. Like, it's not a cool cartridge or anything like that. It's a digital download in a box. Like, oh, well, what? Why are you doing this then?
Yeah, why bother?
Yeah, it definitely feels to me like they're gonna get this thing out in as small a way as possible, so that the people who were set to make money on this in the first place will make their money, and then it will, be discontinued, and that'll be the end of it. That's what it seems like to me, and I don't want it to seem that way. But
and that'll be the end of Amico, or fuck it, Amico. God damn it, I'm so angry. That'll be the end of Intellivision. Like, and that's it. I mean, look at how much of a joke Atari is now.
Yeah,
it's a complete joke, a complete and total fucking joke, and that is sad to me. And again, I know it's not like, I mean, talk about first world problems. I am sad that this corporate identity that I cared for is like getting its name dragged through the mud, but it means something to people.
It's like me getting as angry. I mean, obviously, I'm angry at Activision for all the reasons that people should be angry at Activision, but I'm also angry at Activision because that was Activision. They were the first third party. They existed because they wanted to give people credit for their work,
Yeah.
Like, and now they're this just putrid mountain of evil. And
it sucks. It sucks, man.
Suck. There's very little from that era in gaming that's still worth a damn. And it's a bummer. Like, maybe Amico will come out and it'll be okay. Maybe at some point next year or whatever, they'll actually drop the system out there in the world, and it'll show up on some store shelves, and it'll be like, here's the Amico, and we're going to cultivate this, the ideas that he was talking to us about. Like, when he was on the show, we weren't like, well, yeah, that's going to be a miserable failure. We're like, that might exist, that you might actually be able to pull off some sort of niche, but it's going to be a huge uphill battle. I don't see it happening the way you say it's going to happen, but who knows? I don't know shit, right? I'm not the CEO of in television. I'm some jackass in New Jersey with a microphone.
That's right. But our jackass opinions matter. I'm like that fucking dude the wrestling meme from God, probably 20 years ago at this point. And the dude got up there, started crying, and he's like, "It's still real to me, damn it." It's still real to me, damn it. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. It just fucking bums me out, man. Because you don't have to, right? It doesn't have to be this way.
No, it really doesn't.
The Intellivision Running Man, for however iconic of a symbol or logo or whatever that it is. I mean, it's not the Atari logo, but the Intellivision Running Man is an iconic logo that there's a way to bring it back and have it be something awesome. And this isn't that. If you're going to bring it back to make it be shit, the
entire underlying idea that the Wii left this huge hole in the market that Nintendo didn't follow up on, and that, we need to have a marketplace that's exclusively E to E10 plus rated games, no adult content allowed, and that makes us better. But no matter how much he says that's not the intent, that's how he plays it.
Right.
And that conceit that the Wii left this huge market behind that they didn't follow up on, I think is the biggest hole of absurdity in this whole thing. Like, the general concept that why does anyone need to buy an Amico if they still have a Wii? Like, if your point is to sell them on Cornhole, like, what's to stop them from just playing Wii bowling again? It's not less fun now.
No, it's as much fun as it ever has been.
Yeah,
I think
it the other day, as a matter of fact.
One of the things that I find so very, very troubling about all of this as well is that you would think that if you were trying to get any sort of quote unquote gamer interested in your system, that you would be talking about absolutely any developments you had with Earthworm Jim. And that there was that one video, and that's it.
So do you think that exists at all?
No, not at all.
Do you think that there is anything of Earthworm Jim beyond just that?
Nope. Not even a little bit.
I would be so curious to know if there was actually any development on that game outside of just that one little thing and a meeting of people talking about, we should make a new Earthworm Jim.
Yeah. No, I don't think anything. I don't think it exists. I don't think it ever really existed. I think that was a fucking Trojan horse, man.
Like, the system's gonna come out, and then it's gonna get killed before Earthworm Jim ever has a chance, and then it'll just be one of those unfortunately nobody bought the system, so everything's got to be canceled, including our Earthworm Jim, which was gonna be great. It was gonna be game changing. It's gonna be amazing, but
you saw those videos.
Now it's gone.
You saw the videos we had. Oh, it was gonna be awesome. It was gonna be so good. But no, you fuckers didn't buy it, so now you can't have it. And we're not. And then, well, that's okay, Tommy. You can just release it on other systems. No, it was proprietary technology with the Amico that was so advanced, it just can't be reworked. Just can't.
We'd have to put a whole lot of effort into that, and
that's right.
It's over.
It's not a thing we're gonna do. Oh man, it just really bums me out. It really does. I don't like going on websites for as much as things like Kotaku and Polygon and IGN and whatever report on retro gaming things. I don't like searching up retro gaming news and getting laughed at for the things that I'm interested in. That it really pisses me off. You know what I mean? And Tommy is doing that to an entire hobby with what he's doing with this. because whether rightfully or wrongly, Tommy Tallarico is a big name, and he is shitting all over the retro gaming community. And that bums me out. So, fuck him. It's basically where we come down to, right? I mean, this goddamn, man. You're turning this thing that I care about into a joke. That sucks. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
I don't know. Maybe my feeling is too strong on that. You know, like maybe that's too much of a reaction to it. But that's what it feels like to me. So that's what I got. So we'll keep talking about it. We're gonna keep talking about it when things like this happen, I guess. I don't know if we should or not. I mean, you guys tell us. Yeah, you want us to never fucking mention the Amico again? Because we won't. Like, I mean, if you really don't want it, if you're like, oh god, they're talking about that stupid shit again, I don't care, then we won't ever mention it again. You guys are in control. Vote with your dollars. And by dollars, I mean, you know, likes. I don't know. How do we run this show, Chris?
I don't know. Do we run this show?
Do we? I don't know. Evan does something.
Yeah, he pushed.
Dean, do the thing.
Are pushed. You know. Dean, do the thing. Son of a bitch.
He didn't do the thing, Chris. Damn it.
And now the thing is gone. So speaking of things, what have you been up to, huh? What have you been playing?
Oh, nothing much. I mean, just more padding the show and trying to like work my way towards like other games because I've been a very boring person this summer. But it's been nice, man. Like I found it comforting. I don't know if that's the right word. But I found it nice to just exist in these two kind of worlds, right? Because things have been so fucking chaotic for the last year and 8 months at this point. Have you seen the meme of Anthony Mackie and Chris Evans from fucking Civil War or whatever it is when he does the on your left as he's running? The picture of Anthony Mackie says me trying to process 2020 and Chris Evans is running next to him and says 2022 4 months away. Yeah. Like, oh god, that really, but like that's really where I feel right now, you know, like and things, I don't know how things are with some of our listeners like in the Midwest and Ohio and shit, and any of our listeners like wherever else you guys are, but like things are getting, you know, scary again up here of like locking shit back down at some point. Like I feel like that's coming. So it's been nice to somewhat exist in this bubble of like I play the show for a little bit, I play pad for a little bit, and then I watch TV. You know, like I'm really not expanding much brain power beyond that. And like it's been nice because there's been so much content that has come out in both of those games over this summer. Especially the show. Like they just announced they had a stream today where starting on Tuesday, so 3 days after this episode comes out, it had been out for 3 days, there's a new event going on because the Yankees and the White Sox are going to play a series in Iowa at the Field of Dreams field. So they built a replica stadium, basically, like a very, very small stadium, in a cornfield in Iowa, like the fucking movie. And the Yankees and the White Sox are going to play a series there. And the White Sox have the old school, like, shoeless Joe Jackson throwback unis. And the fucking Yankees are wearing, like, the 1927 Yankees where they had the different script on their jersey because the Yankees have never changed the color of their jerseys once they went from the all dark blue. And once they went to the road grays and the pinstripes, like the only thing that has changed is the font, which is kind of cool. But they're going back to like the old school font. And they announced in the show that there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff themed around that. You're going to be able to unlock the stadium so that you can play there. There's going to be an event that takes place specifically in that stadium where you can use Yankees, White Sox, or Legends players only in the event. And it's like, oh man, there's just all this cool shit to do, you know, and stuff to unlock in these different reward paths. And like, if you go through the entire event, you unlock a really high level, like a 99 level Roberto Clemente card. Just like, oh, it's fucking cool. Like, play with Roberto Clemente. That's awesome. You know, so there's just like all this content coming out to play through. And then on the Puzzle and Dragons side of things, like I talked about it. Did I talk about it last week? No, because it happened. I think it happened like Thursday or Friday. I don't even know anymore, Chris. I had like the best day of rolling that I've ever had. And I got like the two main cards that I wanted out of this new Fairies event, which is they're these plants that transforms into big-titted hot chicks. You know, like plants do. And like, man, they're just what I like about Puzzle and Waifus. What they try to do is like whatever you're into. Like if you're into like thighs or feet or tits or ass or whatever, like there's a card for you in this game. So that's kind of fun. But I got the two cards that I wanted out of there, plus the really strong submarine card that I wanted. So I had like the best day of rolling that I've ever had. And then my buddy that I met playing through the game, my buddy Brian that lives out in California, he was actually out on the East Coast for a little bit. So he was at like a family reunion or whatever, and he was in DC. And I'm knocking shit over on my desk. He was in DC, and he was like, dude, I know it's like far away, but if you want to like come down and hang out, like that would be super awesome. And I was like, yes, there's nothing weird or creepy about this, internet friend. You know, like we've known, you know, we've been quote unquote friends for like 3 years or so, you know, playing this game together and whatever, but you're here in, you and your partner and your kids are here in DC, like, fuck it, let's drive the whole family down to DC and we'll go like eat at a restaurant and play pad together in person, and won't that be fucking fun? So that's what we did this past Friday. It was awesome. You know, went down and met my buddy Brian finally in person, and like had a nice dinner and played some pad and in real life. Like that was super cool. And then it's just been, you know, kind of just fucking relaxing and not trying to focus on too much. I didn't have to play any Atari Lynx games this week, which made me really happy. It's not gonna lie. They have released a bunch of stuff on through like PlayStation Now and through PS Plus that they've added that like I'm going to finally sit down and play through Undertale because I don't have to pay for it now. So I'm finally gonna sit down and like I got through about half of the game I think when I got it for the kids. I just don't like playing shit on PC. You know, it's not my preferred way to do it, but I'm going to play through that. And then there's a bunch of games on sale that I was thinking of picking up. I think it's out on the Switch. This game, Raji. Have you seen this? It's like an Indian themed game. With like the
Raji, an ancient epic.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
On PS4, Switch, PC, and Xbox One.
It's like $10 right now on the PlayStation Summer Sale, and that is a game that looks right up my alley. So I think I'm going to pick that up and play through. It's currently on sale
on Switch as well for $12.50.
Yeah, like it looks really cool. So like I'm really into that. I found a couple other cheap games that I was thinking about picking up to try and swing back into playing like other games, you know, and not just playing the show and pad. I'm a simple boy, Chris. I don't know.
I just put together I just put together a list this morning of the games coming out that I have to pay attention to. So I finished Blaster Master Zero 3. Where is that list? Upcoming games.
While you're looking for your list, I did also, I forgot, I started playing through a bunch of beat 'em ups, trying to figure out like whether or not they belong on our list when we do our mania of beat 'em ups, because there's a lot out there. And we were talking about that Spider-Man game last week, so like I went and played through a bunch of that and like played through the Punisher and that sort of stuff to kind of trying to get a gauge of like, all right, obviously those games aren't going to win, you know, but I still want it to be a somewhat interesting conversation and whatever. So where do those where do those place? Because it's really hard to go back and look. Like there's not a Metacritic for beat 'em ups. You know what I mean? Like there is, but you have to search them all individually, and a ton of the arcade ones aren't on there. So ranking them, like seeding them 1 through 16 or whatever, is proving a bit more difficult. So a lot of it is going to come down to like personal opinion and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm messing with a bunch of those.
All right, so I found my list.
Your list.
I found my list. All right, so I was considering on August 27th No More Heroes 3, but I'm probably not going to be done with any of the shit that I have by then. So I think No More Heroes 3 might fall off the list. On September 14th, Cruisin' Blast is coming out. Definitely getting that. But that's not like a take over my life kind of a thing. It's a
or maybe it is.
Maybe it is. I don't know. It's possible. Horizon took over my life, but what are you going to do? On September 24th, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot comes out, which I was kind of on the fence on whether or not I was going to get. But then they, I think yesterday, they released a gameplay video of the Switch version, which is just looking silky smooth and wonderful to me. So I'm like, all right. It's been a long time since I've played a Dragon Ball Z video game. I heard this one's pretty good, so I might get that one. October 8th, obviously Metroid Dread. And then the other two that I pre-ordered were Mario Party Superstars on October 29th, and then Advance Wars in December. I'm pretty good for the rest of the year on games.
Yeah, I mean, there's... Plus, like, all the little shit that you're going to pick up in between... You know?
Right? There's definitely going to be other stuff that's going to happen in between. Like, and there's also, I promised myself I'd at least play some of Crash 2 and Crash 3. My kids have been interested in trying out Spyro as well, and I bought that collection. So, I'll try those out. We've got tons of other stuff in my backlog. I bought that Paper Mario game I didn't even touch. Like, there's a ton to do.
Yeah, there really is.
I'm feeling pretty well covered in the games department. I'm feeling fine about my position, but the new games that are coming out this year are very exciting to me.
Like I am super excited, obviously, about that Metroid and that Advance Wars. It's somewhat helpful that things like Horizon and Ragnarok got pushed back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I can try
more time.
Yeah, give me a little bit of breathing room, like, because I still have to finish Avengers, and I have to go back and redo a lot of shit in Final Fantasy VII in the remake, and there's a Ghost of Tsushima fucking director's cut, and a Death Stranding director's cut, and I'm gunsta check them out, Chris. No, I'm gunsta.
What?
I'm gunsta. Gonsta. I'm gunsta.
What? Is this something I've missed?
I don't know. It's a fucking Brooklyn Nine-Nine Andy Samberg thing.
Oh, I don't know.
It's a good show.
But speaking of Metroid, did you see the cool little trailer thingy that they put up on Metroid Day?
I did not. Very specifically because I don't... Apart from what we're doing today, I do not want to see anything new. I just want to go into Dread. You know what I mean? Because I mean, you know me. I hate that shit. Like, I don't want to see a trailer for fucking No Way Home. Whatever this Spider-Man movie is going to be, like, I'll watch the first trailer or whatever. But like, apart from just a little intro, I don't want to see anything else. I just want to go. Like I just want to experience shit. I feel like we give too much away.
We do. No, I agree with you. And I think it's part of what I appreciated about this little thing. And really the way they've been handling Dread so far. The Dread reports that they have been releasing have all just been like interesting backstory lore stuff that is likely not to be over-explained within the game itself.
That's good.
Really,
yeah.
So they've been like, this is what an ME unit is. This is why it exists. But then they always end on the question: why is it chasing after Samus? What other things?
What
are
did
going
she
to happen
do
in
to
the game?
piss it off?
So they've been handling all this so extremely well. And then on the day of, they put out the newest Dread Report, which did a whole detail on Metroid 2, Super Metroid, and Fusion. Like, just big, full breakdown, retelling the story of those 4 games, which was really, really cool. And then they ended with a new trailer that showed... it was only, like, I think, maybe 12, 13 seconds long or something. Just showed Samus apparently looking angry, and seeing some Chozo hieroglyphs, and then flashing back to those. I don't know if you got the Chozo lore stuff from Samus Returns. It showed a bunch of those. And then
that's cool.
And then we're definitely going to get some sort of explanation on what was happening in those pictures, which is super exciting. So they showed that. They showed a living Chozo, and then they showed Samus, like, clench her fist, and it was, like, really awesome. But there was one of those things where they do, like, a quick succession of, like, one frame is a different picture kind of a thing. Like, one of the frames was a redone shot of for Metroid Fusion, where you see the SAX for the first time, where the camera pans into the dead eyes. It was that. One of the frames was dope. That. It was like, oh my god, what if that was no question that was some sort of image from a flashback of some flavor. But man, how crazy would it be if the SAX was back in this game? Like, if you had to be running away from Emmy units and the SAX.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm so over the moon excited for this game. Oh my god.
See, that right there, though, that's part of why I, like, try to avoid some of this shit, because you're right, that would be amazing. And now I'm going to be a little disappointed if it doesn't happen. And that's not fair to them.
Not
you
me.
Know?
I will only be disappointed if it doesn't happen, if there's, like, this would be so obvious to put here. I have full faith in this game being...
I know exactly what did it to me, though. Do you remember at the end of, I think it was season 3 of Doctor Who, at the end of I think David Tennant's second season, with the ring that gets picked up, right? And the hand just reached down and picked up the ring, and, like, there was a glint off of the ring, and the hand looked like Donna's hand, and it was like, oh fuck, Donna's gonna be this. This is gonna be amazing. Donna's gonna come back, and she's gonna be the Ronnie, and like, and I did it to myself, man. Like, went down all this fucking, like, YouTube rabbit holes of theories and shit, and then when it just turned out that it was just the Master's wife that picked up the ring, I was like, that is nowhere near as fucking cool as the shit I came up with, and now I'm disappointed, and I hate this thing that I love, because I did it to myself. That's fucked up. That's stupid. So I know the way that I am, so I try not to get overly excited. It would have been way cooler if Donna would have been the Ronnie, though. That would have been a much fucking better story. Anyway.
Well, sorry if I
No,
ruined some
please.
Metroid for you.
How dare you? No, I don't even listen when you talk. It's fine.
That's fair.
It's all good. Who are you? What are we doing? Zelda,
Test.
right? Do the thing. You're Dean?
Oh,
okay.
Boy. All right, let's see. What else have I been up to? Ellie's been sick all week.
Boo.
Which has been particularly brutal on Karen, because she has just turned into a barnacle on Karen over the week. She was sick all weekend. Not really, like, kind of sick all week, but, like, got a bad stomach bug this weekend. There's lots of fluids being cleaned up, but
yeah. Oh, that's super fun.
Yeah, it's coming out of every direction. So there was a lot of time that I spent, kind of like, we would sit down and we were going to watch some TV, and then Ellie would be like, I need mommy. And then she would go upstairs and be up there for a while. So I caught up on Bad Batch.
I need mommy. Shit's about to get real.
Yeah. So I had a little, like, surprise just TV time by myself, and I decided to watch TV instead of play video games, because I'm not really in the middle of too many games right now. I'm, like, in a weird spot where really what I want to be playing is Skyward Sword, but John has, he wants me to play it with him, and he gets upset whenever I play it without him. So I'm like, all right, I don't really have anything I'm itching to play right now besides Skyward Sword, so I guess I'll just watch TV. So I caught up on Bad Batch, which is fine. A lot of people seem really into this show, and I don't know, it's not really doing it for me. Like, it's not bad. No. It's fine.
I haven't watched any of it.
It's fine. It's more of Clone Wars, but not Clone Wars at its best, I don't think. And in the first part of the season finale, I don't know if you were a fan of the Transformers Beast Wars and Beast Machines.
Like back in the day, or the rebooted shit?
The back in the day stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was all right. It wasn't. I wasn't over the moon for it.
I most definitely was, and I loved Beast Machines more than most people did. But they did a move in Bad Batch that was straight out of Beast Machines. They pulled a Tankor on one of the characters, and I was like, oh, that's a bold move, but not as effective as it was in Beast Machines, because I don't care about these people. But and I think that's my biggest problem. I don't care about any of the team, like the Bad Batch, the Clone Troop 99 or whatever they are. I don't care about any of them, like, at all. And I think that's been my problem throughout the course of the show. Like, the world that they're in started off super interesting, and the stuff that they're showing with, like, the formation of the Empire is interesting, but I don't really care about their day-to-day stuff, like, at all. So Cad Bane was back for an episode. That was neat to see, but again, it's all been neat, never been like, all right, this is really interesting. On the opposite side of that, though, I did finish watching Masters of the Universe.
I did too. I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah. What did you think? I
fucking loved it, Chris.
Right there with you.
I loved it. And I am... Masters of the Universe was, for a period of time, my entire fucking world. right. Like, we have talked about, you know, my relatively shitty childhood, and for because it was super shitty, but for a large part of it, like, Masters of the Universe was the thing that, like, I escaped to, and, like, fucking taught me, like, how to be a person and shit like that, and, like, way more, like, psychological stuff than we need to get into right now. But it was a very, very, very important part of my life, and still is to this day. And I say that while also acknowledging that if you go back and watch those episodes with a modern eye from the original Masters of the Universe, they're terrible. They're just the worst. The animation is shit. The stories don't make fucking sense for the most part. Because they were TV commercials. They were commercials to sell toys.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay. You know what I mean? So, to see...
Because the toys were fucking awesome.
The toys were fucking great. And all the comic books and shit that have come afterwards have really expanded upon what that Filmation story set up. And, like, Kevin Smith coming out and saying that this was an expansion of the Filmation stuff. Like, if you only saw the Filmation cartoon and have no experience with the comic books or any of the stories that have come afterwards, then I can see how you might be a little bit upset about the direction that they went with the story. But if you've read any of that other stuff and understand that there exists a world within this world, and at the same time outside of just what that Funimation shit was, like, this was a very logical, natural progression of where this story might go, especially with a dude like Kevin Smith at the helm.
Yeah, I was having a lot of chats with my friend about this, and I understood where he was coming from, like, when he was telling me about it before I started watching the show. It's like, well, I was promised a He-Man show, and I got the Tila show. So
you weren't promised a He-Man show. You were promised a Masters of the Universe show. Nowhere in the title of that show does it fucking say He-Man.
And that was my initial reaction too. And then after I finished the season, I looked at the actual trailers, and the trailers are pretty He-Man centric. Like, there was definitely like there was definitely a bit of bait and switch going into this. And I can understand being a little miffed about that, but I cannot understand that being enough to make you not enjoy the show. Because first off, He-Man was in every episode.
Yeah.
All 5 episodes. I was like, all right, well, I guess at a certain point, this is really just going to be Teela's story going forward. And, well, they'll probably pick He-Man back up when it comes back, because this is only the first half of the season.
Right.
So when we get the back half, it'll probably be more He-Man centric. But then he was in a flashback or whatever every single episode of the show. And I was like, all right, I don't understand this criticism anymore, because, like, even though the story is kind of being told with Teela at the forefront, and only kinda, He-Man is still the centerpiece of the show. Like, this is
everything still revolves around him.
Exactly. This is how is the world getting on without He-Man? So it's like it is a very He-Man centric show. And then I had another conversation with him about it, and he said, "Well, my favorite character is now dead, so." That cheesed me off, and I was like, who's your favorite character? And he's like, Orko. I was like, Orko was my favorite character growing up, and that was my favorite episode of the season. That was amazing. Dude went out.
Yeah, that's the most respectful and awesome that Orko has ever been.
That was so cool. And, like, also, I didn't see a body. Dude teleported, all right?
Yeah.
A ring closed, and he wasn't there anymore. That's not dead. I've seen TV.
Yeah.
But I thought that whole thing was amazing, and I don't know if it ever showed up in the cartoon or in any of the other media you've talked about, that his name was supposed to be Oracle. I thought that was great. Oh my God.
That was new for me.
That was wonderful.
That was great.
It was such a great piece of mythology. And God, the way it ended, too.
Right? Up in the air? Who knows? I mean, Teela is obviously the sorceress's daughter.
And I didn't piece that together, but okay.
Yeah, she has to be.
I just like that, like he was about to do the.
Fuck.
And Skeletor with the. Oh my.
Like, because that's
wonderful. I don't understand how you could be even like I liked the cartoon as a kid very much. I remember almost nothing about it. I remember the toys. I remember the character designs. I don't remember their names, but I remember the character designs. I remember the toys. That was what I loved about He-Man. Was I had so many of those action figures, the battle cats, and the Castle Grayskull. I loved that, and I loved like just the whole idea of this very specific character designs. Like, they just look so cool, even though like they're watching Man-at-Arms and he puts that stupid fucking helmet on his head. Like, why is this cool? This should not be cool.
Is.
But it just is. There's just something good about these character designs. They rule.
The name in and of itself, He-Man, is such a stupid fucking name.
My God, it is.
It's
Half the names are so incredibly dumb the whole time. Like you gotta the whole time watching it, like listening to Sarah Michelle Gellar like try to act seriously saying these names, and it's like
saying merman. Like it's fucking so dumb.
Stupid.
It's dumb.
Fine.
And it is.
It really worked. And that's the thing. I don't understand being any kind of fan of this source material and not just loving this show. I mean, I understand that there was like, I was pretty sure I remembered correctly in the first episode, they were very upfront about the fact that Teela and the other girl were an item, right? Didn't they like have a whole moment and whatnot? And
that definitely seemed to hint towards that. And then we I
thought they were like super on the nose about it. Didn't they like, hold hands and kiss or something at the end?
No, they didn't kiss, but there was definitely a like where you go, I go kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I must be remembering that wrong. I was tired at the time, but regardless, I can understand.
Go back and watch it again. It's an hour and 15 minutes for the whole fucking thing,
That probably, I mean, I know that cheesed a lot of people off. And, the fact
because the alpha male didn't get the fucking cheerleader at the end, like, get over your fucking selves.
And, Teela
was ridiculous.
She was not drawn as a pretty princess for the rest of the series, and, she was
a badass girl.
The original
taking care of things.
Hero was a black guy. That was probably problematic for some people too, and
I'm sure it was.
But it was awesome,
the original
man.
Grayskull. I thought it was great.
I thought the only part of it.
The only part of it I didn't like was fucking Sarah Michelle Gellar. I just don't like her. I've never thought she's very good at what she does. It's personal opinion. She wasn't terrible, but like,
yeah, I was fine.
I would have rather had Tara Strong.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think she brings anything to literally any role she's ever been in, which is a terrible thing to say. But I find her painfully, horribly, wretchedly bad. So, I mean, it is what it is. But like, she didn't do anything to detract from these overall episodes. It's just like what I appreciated about it so much was that for the first time in animated form, there were consequences to the character's actions, right? Mm-hmm. Because when it's a syndicated commercial for a toy line, you can't have any lasting consequence. You have to play with your chess pieces during your 22 minutes and then reset the board every fucking episode, you know? And then what did we learn at the end today? Well, friends, and then whatever, you know, but very, very much like in the Transformers movie when they killed Optimus, or in the fucking G.I. Joe movie when fucking Duke takes or Flint, whoever the fuck it was. Is it Duke or Flint that takes the fucking Serpentor shit?
I don't know.
Damn it. Which one is it? It might be Flint. Who gets the fucking Serpentor, like, pulls his fucking snake out and stabs him in the heart with it and, like, turns Cobra Commander, like, into a snake. Like, there were consequences in that there couldn't be out of necessity for the toy commercials that were the actual episodes. I don't know, man. All of the complaints that I've seen online for this show basically break down to toxic masculinity. Like, I mean, really not to put too fine a point on it, but like almost every argument I've seen for this is like, strong white men didn't get the blonde girl, is basically the complaints that I've seen.
Yeah. Made me sad because I thought it was great.
It does.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was great. I thought it was better than the reboot that came out in like 2001, 2002, give or take. I certainly like those character designs a little bit more because they were just a little bit more modernized. Everything wasn't so much the same. What fucking Henry Rollins did with Triclops, that shit was dope. That was awesome. So good. That was so good. I fucking loved it, man. Eva Lynn was way cooler and more interesting of a character than she has ever been. Oh, man, I thought it was fucking great. I can't wait. I can't wait for the rest of it. I can't wait to find the toys somewhere. I want the fucking new figures.
Did you watch Suicide Squad? Not to derail too much further.
No.
Have video games to talk about.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm probably going to watch it tonight.
It's quite good. Very much enjoyed it. All right, let's see if I can blow through the rest of this real quick here.
Don't bring up He-Man if you don't want to have like a fucking 20-minute conversation at least.
Sorry, I just found the Facebook post about the Amico delay, and it's got, let's see, it's got 82 comments, and I haven't found a single negative one yet.
No, because they've all been curated out.
Yeah, this is really
And like Tommy basically admitted that to us in the course of our interview, that they fucking go through and cherry pick shit. I don't remember exactly what he said, but the context was there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Whatever. It's a little gross. I'm finding some when I scroll all the way down. Like, I'm getting pretty low on the list, and there's definitely some. But yeah, man.
As an aside, did you see the new Hasbro Power Rangers Turtles crossover figures that they announced?
I did. I just saw a picture of those earlier.
That's pretty great.
That's pretty wild.
Kind of excited about it. I'm not going to get them because Turtle collectors and Power Rangers collectors, like, I'm not fighting with you two fucking groups. That shit ain't happening. But it looks pretty. They look pretty cool.
Yeah, they look neat.
April as the Pink Ranger, I thought was pretty cool. Tommy as a foot soldier. I thought it was pretty funny. Anyway.
Let's see. I've been playing Zero Mission again, just because.
Nice.
I'm just so obsessed with Metroid right now, so I just decided, let me just hit up some more of the 2D games again. So I'm playing Zero Mission again slowly, and partially
God, it's just so good.
I'd rather be playing almost anything than Federation Force, which I think I've officially given up on. It makes me sad, but whatever. Horizon Chase Turbo is going to get some sort of update soon, so
I
I've
saw
been slowly
that.
working on unlocking the last 2 cars. I got the Loftwing amiibo. I got to order one. That's
very exciting.
I was online the instant Wario64 posted that it went up on Nintendo's site. And I just jumped right there, got one, normal price. It was supposed to show up in the mail today. UPS still says it is estimated delivery of Monday, August 9th by 7 p.m. It is now 10 o'clock. So I don't think it's coming today, but what are you going to do? I'm sure it'll show up sometime soon.
At least you have it.
At least I have it. I played a bunch of Bubble Bobble with John. He came across the boss music for the arcade version of Bubble Bobble on my iPod, and he thought it was really cool. So I was like, "You want to go play it?" So we went downstairs to the arcade machine and we played Bubble Bobble for we made it to level 64 before I accidentally died before he hadn't continued yet. So when you both die, that's when you get the game over. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
So we didn't start over, but we made it pretty far.
That's pretty awesome.
And then after that, I have a story to tell you. After that, so John for quite a long time has been like, I want to. What's Monopoly?
Oh no,
I don't know, man. I don't know if you're old enough for Monopoly quite yet, and it's it takes a long time. But Ellie was attached to Karen, and I had to entertain John. And I was like, you know what? It's just the two of us. Let's play Monopoly, because I have the video game flavored Monopolies. I have Super Mario Monopoly, Zelda Monopoly, and Nintendo Monopoly. So he wanted to play the Super Mario Monopoly. So we pulled it out. I was like, I've never opened this before, so please be careful with it. So we crack it open, get all the money sorted. I go over the basic rules with him, and the way we played was just because I figured this was going to go by nice and quick. We played it so that he was like, well, what's free parking? I was like, well, free parking can be any number of things depending on who you're playing with. Yeah. So let's just say if you happen to be lucky enough to land on free parking, you get $200. So that's how we played. So we're going around. He buys a couple of properties, but what he's really after is the Boardwalk and Park Place properties, right?
Of course.
Which are the one of them's 8-4 was the big one, the Boardwalk, and so he wound up getting the other blue one, and I bought Boardwalk, and we played was probably an hour or so, and we got to the point where he owned. I made a trade with him for 3 other properties for the Boardwalk that he was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I owned pretty much the rest of the board. There were maybe 4 or 5 spots on the board that he could land that wouldn't have cost him dearly. But he spent every penny that he had to get a hotel on that one property.
Oh, and he fucked you, didn't he?
He spent everything he could. He dodged every single property I owned like it was nothing. And I put down everything I could, and I saved a decent chunk of change to the best of my ability, and he managed to roll the dice around every property I had. And wouldn't you know it, right after he put the hotel, that's where I landed, and it cost me the game. I couldn't even mortgage enough to get out of it. The whole freaking thing. He spent everything on that. If he had landed on the cheapest property, he would have been toast. He had $6 left to his name. But he got that hotel. That's all he wanted. He just wanted to put the castle on 8-4. That's all he wanted out of the game. And I couldn't believe that I landed on it. It was the only spot on the board that I could have landed on that would have cost me the game. And he could have landed on pretty much anywhere else and it would have cost him the game. But he dodged every single one of them every time. It was uncanny the way that he made it around this board. And then he sat on the box.
Oh, and you beat him mercilessly.
I was so pissed. I was like, God, you just did this, and then you did that. Son of a bitch.
I don't know how to feel right now.
I was so upset, but he had a ball. He started crying when he sat on the box, too. I was like, dude, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's just a box.
It's not fine. It's not.
No, what's not fine is the supreme fucking you just gave me, sir. that I wound up rolling the dice to land on this one spot, and you dodged everything.
Everything.
Unbelievable. Absolutely.
That's unreal.
Yeah. So the next time we play that game, it's probably not going to go as well for him. He's going to get really upset about it because right now he thinks he's great at Monopoly.
Yeah. No, you gotta teach your children that they suck sometimes.
Well, you know? That was the plan. I figured it was foolproof. I owned the board. Like there was no way there was no logical way for him to not lose that game. And I was like, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" He's like, "Yeah, I have the money. I'm going to spend it. I want the hotel on that property." He's like, "All right, dude, do what you got to do." So
Such
of course
is
I
your
landed
life.
on it.
Of course.
Of course I landed on it. Kid's got to play the lottery.
Right? You should have taken him immediately. Immediately, if not sooner.
Pick me the
to
winner.
The store.
So yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. I've been thinking about getting that Bubble Bobble 4 Friends game to try and pick a...
What is that?
It's a new version of Bubble Bobble that came out. It's 4-player. It's on the Switch. My friend Paul bought it. He said he hated it, but I'm looking for other games to play 4-player, and the reviews for it are pretty solid. But what I can't tell from anyone is how will it work, playing with the kids. Because if it's just going to be an exercise in frustration for the kids, then I'm not sure I want in. But the arcade one was fine because he could just keep pumping in quarters and basically live forever. And if I can have some sort of fail-proof state for the kids while we're playing, then that sounds like a great game for us to play 4-player. Because right now, New Super Mario Brothers is definitely being an exercise in frustration. That game is not as fun multiplayer as 3D World is, not by a long shot.
Oh,
so I'm looking to get them off of it, but they're not interested in the Lego games, and here we are. So I don't know, we'll see. Thinking about it. It's on sale for the next couple of days, but it's still more expensive than I want it to be.
Sure.
So, I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that's all I got. Let's call this beginning segment, take a break, and talk Metroid.
Oh yeah, we're doing a thing.
We are. All right, that's the top half. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna rank all the Metroid games, which is there's a lot fewer of them than there are Zelda and Donkey Kong games, so it'll probably go a little bit faster.
No,
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's us. We'll be here all night.
We got
You're
another
listening
7
to the
hours.
Stone Age Gamer podcast from geekade.com. Stick around. And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and geekade.com.
First up, Kris. Batman.
Yeah, Batman.
He's a superhero of many colors. There's the classic gray and blue, the solid black of the Tim Burton cinematic adventures, the black and gray from the animated series, and of course, the chef's kiss, the solid purple of the classic NES game. On an all-new Weekend Rental podcast, the guys discuss the pinnacle of Bat video gaming with the Sunsoft classic Batman the video game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. But that's not all. There's also a discussion about the inevitable downsizing of one's video game collection and the wonderment that was Woodstock 99. Is wonderment the right word? Either way, make sure you check out Weekend Rental, episode 105, The Gamers Enter Bat Country. Now, do you get the Bat Country reference?
There's a radio station around here called Cat Country.
No, there's some Hunter S. Thompson shit. I didn't think.
Sorry.
Okay, it's also some Avenged Sevenfold. Anyway, what's your favorite? What's your preferred Batman color scheme?
Color scheme?
Yeah.
Probably, if I'm going the straight-up color scheme, I like the gray and the really dark blue of Justice League cartoon.
Okay. I also
coloration.
I am the lighter blue and gray with the yellow bat symbol, like the very classic.
Oh, that's great too. Love that.
The Death in the Family. Who did those books? Jim Aparo? Is that Jim Aparo and Doug Monet? And I don't know. That fucking that run of Batman. Loved it.
Anyway, next. I don't know if you've heard, but the Metroid franchise turned 35 last week.
What? Son of a bitch.
As a way to celebrate, I made a video detailing my complete Metroid collection with quotation marks around the word complete, because there are technically a couple of variants out there that I'm missing, but I honestly could not possibly care less about that. I am not about tracking down the Kmart exclusive Metroid Prime label variant. Like the Zelda collection, I'm not
about
kidding.
that life.
That's not what I'm about. That's not me anymore. Like the Zelda collection video that came before it, this one's about an hour long, so, strap in for a bunch of nonsense. But what makes this one truly special is not only my ever-expanding editing skills, but the music! This is the video that I commissioned Banjo Guy Ollie to make 6 all-new covers for, and they came out great. So if you love Metroid, as you should, head on over to the Stone Age Gamer YouTube channel and watch Stone Age Gaming Complete US Metroid Collection, and leave a comment, because that stuff always makes me happy.
Sorry, I just came over to my fucking graphic novel collection to find Batman and Death in the Family. Jim Starlin, Jim Aparo, and Mike DiCarlo. Those are the guys.
It's a lot of O's.
That fucking run. That's my shit. Right there. Oh, I'm looking at it right now. So good. Joker beating the shit out of Robin. Anyway. Great book. And yeah, you have stuff. Whatever. Good for you. Watch your video. Ooh. No, I'm just... Oh, we're all so proud of you for making a fucking video, Kris. I'm just kidding. Finally.
I gotta say, you mentioned, I have stuff. Yeah, I have stuff.
Yo, you have so much stuff.
They updated the Game Eye app recently.
Yeah.
And so I've been going through a lot of my other stuff. And I started cataloging some of my accessories. And this blew my goddamn mind. Because one of the things that I have out to make a video on in the not-too-distant future is one of I like making videos on the stupid stuff that I have. One of them is that Rollin' Rocker, that thing for NES, the Rollin' Rocker. I have one in the box and everything. So I was like, all right, well, let's catalog this stuff because it's on the shelf. And I cataloged it, and do you know what that thing, complete in the box, lists for at this particular moment in time?
Probably an amount that would make me want to punch the person that purchased it.
You know what? Yeah, you're 100% right. You are 100% right. Because that's what I want to do.
And you are way less violent than I am.
I scanned this thing and I said, "Who is this stupid? Who made this decision?" Because this was not a sound decision. The peripheral is listed on my on my Game Eye app, which pulls from pricecharting.com, which itself pulls from eBay. So that means that somebody at some point, at some vintage, paid $726 for that thing.
Get fucked.
In what universe? What kind of a sick fuck pays that much money for a Rollin' Rocker? For that literal piece of garbage. I bought it for a couple of bucks at a con because it's hilariously stupid.
My God.
What the hell?
That's the main thing, Kris, that I can't wait for when this pandemic is over. To where the Rollin' Rocker is no longer a $726 fucking collectible. Come on.
And what's wrong with me that I still won't sell it?
A lot. A whole lot.
Because I
in
bought
like
it
a year and a half, it's going to be back to $5. But you sell it now and then buy it in a couple years. Dude, the bubble is going to burst on this shit so hard.
But that's the thing. The bubble's going to burst, but I don't think anyone's going to drop their prices. I think the shit's just going to stop selling.
That is the same shit people used to say about Mark McGuire rookie cards back in the day. and now you can fucking wipe your ass with them for all anybody cares. That used to be the same thing. Mark he's going to be a fucking Hall of Famer. He's in surefire. You're just investing money. Investing money.
I'm saying that no matter when it happens in my life, I will never be able to find a Box Boy amiibo for less than $200 because no one on this earth will ever part for it for less. Because they look at it and said, well, somebody paid this at some point, and I will not sell it for less.
No.
And that makes me sad. Because I don't want it. I don't want it to resell it. I don't want it because it's worth money. I want it because it's an adorable Box Boy.
Sure.
Anyway, what's left?
We're just talking about games you love. Or games you should love if you don't love it. If you've never played it, that game in particular is Chrono Trigger.
Mm-hmm.
It is simply one of the very best games ever to come out. I know that you wrote on the Super NES, but it is simply one of the best games ever to come out. It is a constant source of excellent conversations. Heck, I could start a Chrono Trigger conversation right now, and it would be fucking amazing. I'm not going to do that because we've already talked about Tommy Tallarico, He-Man, and so much other shit. And we still have Metroid to discuss. I haven't even talked about Ferg yet this fucking week. I haven't even mentioned that. That's ridiculous. And honestly, my thoughts on Chrono Trigger would be so cool. Your heads would explode listening to them. Just fucking eargasms, just left and like, oh, god damn it, that's so good. Anyway, instead of listening to us doing whatever the hell I just said we were going to do, you should check out our good friends at the SNES podcast. Their thoughts on Chrono Trigger are even more well thought out than mine, and they don't come with the side effects that I just mentioned. Plus, Greg and Joe were joined by Jella from the Duck Feed Network, which is a recipe for one fuck of a podcast. So you know what to do. Give a lesson, and a listen to the SNES podcast episode 169. Nice. Chrono Trigger Revisited.
For all this great content and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on geekade.com. Okay, we are back, and before we jump right in, before we jump into our Metroid thing, we got an email from one of our listeners that I wanted to read on the show that I forgot to do last week and forgot to do before the break. So here we go. Jamie Hill writes, "Hey Chris, I hope you're doing well. It's been a while since I've written in. I've still been listening. I just had plenty going on in the meantime. Not a huge fan of Discord either, just never naturally check it. So here's my old-fashioned email." Jamie, I love old-fashioned emails. Pile them
I
on.
like the ones that also mention me. I'm just going to put that out there, Jamie.
Oh, this one does.
Just saying.
You've got a whole...
Oh, I know, but you said, "Hi, Chris."
Well, he started off
"Hi,
because
Chris
it was
and Dan."
addressed to me, but he has a question. There's a whole section dedicated just to the magnificence that is you.
I'll stop being shitty then. Evan, edit that part out.
I wanted to chime in and say how excited and glad I am that we finally got the Skyward Sword HD remake. I was the one who wrote in a few years ago asking you guys to choose the next Zelda game I played on my way through to work through the series as a whole. Yeah, we know that. We know who you are, man. We know you.
That's right.
We remember you. I played my first Zelda game,
face.
Ocarina of Time, in 2016 and finished all the main timeline games in 2019 with Twilight Princess, with the exception of Skyward Sword. I did start it on my Wii U, but the need to have 40 to 50 hours of me sitting in front of the TV with the Wii remote set up just wasn't an option, especially in our small apartment with a new baby at the time, so I held out for the inevitable remake. And here we are. I'm a little over 20 hours in, and man, saying that I'm having an incredible time is an understatement. Oh, excuse me. I was also fortunate enough to snag a set of the special edition Joy-Cons as well. Personally not crazy about the design, but as a Zelda whore, I'm right there with you. I was obligated to do my darndest to get them for the collection. I was not whorish enough to get those particular Joy-Cons, but I mean, you know, we're splitting hairs here. I'll happily I'll leave that be. Just going to detail what I do for the Zelda franchise, but this is a family show. It's not.
It's not. It's not a family show.
This game is beautiful. The story is surprisingly robust for a Zelda game, and the music is just plain beautiful. Looking at you, wave back. I hope this remake gets Skyward Sword the positive PR it deserves from Zelda fans. Let's keep this happy and not talk about the shit show of trying to pre-order the Joy-Con or that darn amiibo, which I still don't have. Yes, let's not do that. Secondly, I have a question for Dan. I was going to write in a few months ago asking for advice because my wife and I found out we were pregnant with twins. However, just 3 weeks later, an appointment...
I think.
Maybe. However, just 3 weeks later at an appointment, we were told that one of the twins' heart had stopped, and they had stopped growing a few days after our first ultrasound, so we were expecting to just have one baby. Fast forward 7 weeks, and we go in for a keepsake ultrasound last weekend to find out that the gender, and this doctor, different from the first one, was surprised to hear us talking about losing one of the twins, because there were two very healthy babies in there. We have no answers as to what happened during that second ultrasound, but we're incredibly grateful and excited to be welcoming two baby girls into our new home this Christmas. We already have one 2-year-old girl, Zoe, and decided that if we had another girl, we would name her Zelda. The Wind Waker was incredibly helpful for me when my dad passed in 2017. I was able to fall into that game and enjoy the beauty of the music and story, reminding me that there was still fun and joy available out there. Couldn't have asked for a better distraction. Since starting my Zelda journey in 2016, it has become far and away my favorite game franchises of all time, even Phantom Hourglass with a little smiley face. And the name itself is pretty, and it starts with a Z, so all boxes checked. Since two girls and my wife agreed to Zelda, I gave her full reign on the second name. We couldn't think of a third Z name we liked, so we're going to go with Magnolia. Here's my question to Dan. As the only other dad I know with twin girls, what advice can you offer, if any, to me as my wife and I bring home Zelda and Magnolia this Christmas? I have always enjoyed hearing about your girls and the fun stuff that comes along with twins. Per usual, SAG is still holding strong as my favorite podcast. Keep playing games. P.S. I really enjoy your articles in Nintendo Force. You're one of my favorite writers they have. I'm never surprised to be reading an article and think, man, this is well written and reading really well, only to finish reading it and see, Kris, keep up the great work over there. That was a hell of an email. Thank you very much for writing in, Jamie. And thank you for the kind words on Nintendo Force. This next issue is pretty exciting. I did 2 reviews and interviewed Kevin Eastman. So let's pass it on to the more important question. Dan, you're up.
I mean, man, so advice for twin girls. I mean, I think the biggest, honestly, the biggest piece of advice is just to not be hard on yourself, because it's so different, right? Like, I know talking to like back in the day when the girls were first born, it was you had twins, and people who didn't have twins, you had singletons. So like people who just have one baby at a time, like that's fucking easy, man. Like you got 2 people to tackle one kid. Like that's nothing. But with twins, like there were times where God, I remember getting up and 4 o'clock in the morning, and Penny just wouldn't eat, and she just wouldn't eat, and I was so tired because I had just fed Katie, and then Penny got up, and I was just exhausted and frustrated, and she wouldn't eat. And it's because she was fucking colicky. Yeah, it was hard for her. I had to hold her in a different position, and I didn't know, and I didn't take any time to figure that out because I was like sleep deprived and I was angry, and I threw a bottle across the room because I was just so pissed off. And like, not only did that scare the kid and she started crying, but then I also had to clean up the bottle that I threw across the fucking room, and then had to make another bottle because she still had to eat, right? So I think, like, honestly, the short answer is to just not be hard on yourself, because it's insane. It is just insanity from start to finish, because you're going to find that some days your twins will be exactly the same person, because why wouldn't they be? They're babies, they're taking in the same input and the same love and the same care and all of that they're getting from their parents and their family members, and the routines are the same and all of that. And then other days they'll be completely different people because they are in fact completely different people. Whether they're identical, fraternal, whatever the case may be. Don't be too hard on yourself, but do make a schedule. Do make a schedule, because with 2 kids, it's a lot of feeding, it's a lot of changing, it's a lot of maintenance for a little while. Until they can, kind of sit up and be on their own. And then what's kind of lovely and beautiful about it is that they will entertain themselves. Like, it's something that I'm so inherently jealous of, but not even in like a negative way. My girls have a connection and a friendship that I will never be able to have with anyone else. Right? None of us who are not twins or triplets or whatever, who are not multiple births, we will never understand what that bond is like. So give them time to develop that bond and like watch that bond grow and really step back and try to be, I fucking hate this word, but try to be present in the moment, and not worried so much about what you have to do and like, oh, we got to get here and we got to do this and that and my job and this and that and all the other things. Like, try to observe these 2 kids that are going to grow up in a very, very special, different way than any of us have any familiarity with. And just take the time with it. I don't know if that makes any sense. I hope it does.
It sounded like it made sense to me.
Okay. Really make a schedule, though. Really make a schedule and stick to a schedule. I mean, like, I would suggest buying cloth diapers, too. Just because while it is gross, when you have 2 of them, the cost up front versus the cost long term is, oh my God, so much cheaper.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I don't know if he's been listening to the show long enough to know that I did it. Sure. I did that too, and I also heartily recommend. Because here's the thing: it's going to be gross either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's gross. It's gross one way or another. You
may as well just go
right.
Go the full 9. Get the sprayer for your toilet, and have at it.
And much like anything else, like you said, that like this is obviously not your first kid. So like there is a level of desensitizing that comes along with having kids where you're like, it's poop, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it just is, because it's like your own kids and like it smells right, which is a fucking weird thing I know to say. But like if you ever babysit for another kid and you have to change some other kid's diaper, their shit smells different. It just does. It's fucking weird. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But like really, really get cloth diapers. You will literally save yourself over the course of the time that the kids are in diapers thousands of dollars. Like, indeed. No lie, thousands of dollars. Because diapers are crazy expensive.
Yeah, they are.
And also, don't give in to the pressure of people who are like, breast is best and all that. Like, if your wife can breastfeed, great. If she can't, don't fucking feel bad about it.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah,
there's so much of that.
General advice.
There's so
for the
much
human
of that
race.
shit right now. Yeah. Oh my God, there's so much of that like mommy shaming stuff that's going on right now that I see like a lot, that people have gotten really into being parents during the pandemic. And there's a lot of shame going around with that. And like, Tiff couldn't breastfeed, the kids wouldn't fucking latch on. I will, but the kids wouldn't, so
you have more fine motor control than they do.
I do. I really do. And I'm very excited and very happy to help her out with it. But, but no, like there's a lot of shaming in that, so like, don't fucking pay attention to any of that shit. Just make a schedule, buy cloth diapers, and be observant.
Word. Sound advice.
You gotta ask me these questions before I start drinking, Chris.
Well, I was supposed to do it in the front half of the show, and then I forgot.
You were supposed to do it last week.
I was supposed to do it last week. Yeah.
All right.
There's no
talk
good
about
time to ask
Metroid
questions.
games,
Let's talk about Metroid. There's a lot of Metroid games. The franchise is 35 years old, so we're going to rank them because that's what we do. And it's a lot of fun. So let's have this conversation.
Let's do it.
All right, first we have Metroid, 1986.
It's got to go right at the top of the list, Chris.
Yeah,
right at the top.
To start off, it is definitely the best, but also the worst game we've discussed so far.
It really is. I mean, and it's amazing that it can hold both of those things.
But as of right now, I definitely agree with you. It goes right at the top. The original Metroid is a phenomenal classic. I was having a conversation earlier in the Discord with Ferg actually about this. He said that he missed the Metroid train. He never got into it, and he never even got it until he was much older collecting. And that one really bummed me out to hear, because I also know that Ferg was he was really into adventure on 2600, and man, he would have had a ball just with graph paper mapping this game out and figuring it out back in the old days. I just think this really would have been right up his alley. Maybe the difficulty, the game's, I think this game's more punishing than The Legend of Zelda was.
I would agree with that. I still don't think it's hard.
Oh, I think it's hard. I mean, I don't think actually beating Ridley and Kraid and going through Torian, but all the stuff in between, you can just get caught in a door and then enemies will pop in there and yank half your health, and then you gotta. The game can be very unfair, and it can hit you with some nasty deaths, and then when you die, you gotta refarm for all your health again, which takes forever because you start with 30 health no matter what.
But you can. And you were 6. What the fuck else are you doing?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't know. I wouldn't go so far as to call this game hard. I would call it cheap at times. Just because of shit you're saying. The fact that you can get caught in a door, I don't think makes the game hard, but it does make it somewhat poorly planned out. In retrospect, you know what I mean? I will say the mother brain shit at the end. That is hard. That I actually thought was a hard boss fight.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you get there with enough health and missiles, and you just kind of keep getting on that platform and blast away. But
yeah, or you put in the code.
Yeah, or that's what I was saying. This game has a lot of things that make it easier to do. You could do the Justin Bailey code, and that doesn't make you invincible, but it there's lots
makes
of
it
codes
a little easier.
Can make it a lot easier to start you off with more powers and stuff like that, or just do what I did in my most recent playthrough of it as do the Narpa sword code. You're just completely invincible and never run out of ammo, and just enjoy strolling through the game pretending you're not invincible. Yeah, but then you're also not going to die. You're not going to die, but you try to play the game like you're gonna, and see how well it goes, and then just experience the world of it and the music, and follow an online map so you don't get lost in all the rooms that look exactly the same, and you're good to go.
I mean, man, this game fucking blew me away when I was a kid, because I have always been more, and certainly back then, I've certainly softened on it as I've gotten older. But I was way more of a sci-fi kid than I was a fantasy kid. So, I liked Zelda. I loved Metroid. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my god, it's like the Aliens movies. This is amazing. This is my whole fucking world. I love it. Game blew me away.
Yeah, I was kind of equal parts fantasy and sci-fi. I loved them both pretty much the same. And while Zelda was the one that I played first, Zelda definitely scratched that itch. I was way more into Zelda than I was Metroid, but probably only because I hadn't played Metroid yet. I didn't get to play Metroid till I was a little older. I was still pretty young. I was probably around 13 or something when I finally, 12 or 13, when I finally got around to properly playing Metroid, sitting down with the graph paper and going through with it. Because I'd played a little bit of it at a friend's house, but I'd never really borrowed that one, and it never got to be something that I spent the time with. But the mythology of it, my friend wouldn't lend me the game, but he lent me the instruction manual, so I loved the story. And I had the pictures and the calendar and stuff like that. I was so into the world of Metroid, the thought of just this world. I love the character design and everything. I just thought it was the coolest thing. And then when I finally played it and really sat through and played it, because when I'd played at my friend Steve's house, and just the music, it's really, really got me. The title screen music was so cool, and I just freaking loved this game. And then
it's fucking great, man.
It is. It is great. It's still great. It's definitely got its problems, but playing it through modern means definitely makes it a lot easier to handle. And even if you don't, it's
without question.
It still can be very fun on its own, but I mean, playing this game with a rewind function is fantastic.
So much better.
Yeah,
so much better.
Definitely, it alleviates some of the pain of like, all right, well, now I'll make sure that I kill this random enemy that I didn't see before I went through the door, that crawled in the door after me and sapped half my health while the screen was scrolling.
Yeah, that does happen.
So, good times.
Good times, great
Metroid.
oldies.
All right, so next up is Metroid 2: Return of Samus for Game Boy.
I
think it goes underneath the original Metroid.
I was gonna say I can't put it above the original.
I agree. I love Metroid 2. It's fantastic, and it does a lot of great stuff to move the franchise forward, but the limitations of the Game Boy hold this thing back so much. It's way less exploratory. Yeah, it's way less exploratory. There's not a lot of draw distance because everything's so zoomed in because of the screen dimensions, and the black and white nature of it makes everything look so similar. This kind of game didn't work as well on the Game Boy, especially at this time. This was 1991, and I love the game.
It's good.
It's very good. Still well worth playing today, especially with an online map to help you find your way around all the areas that look exactly the same, even more so than the original Metroid because everything's in black and white. But it's also, it takes away a lot of the free-roaming nature of Metroid because of the limitations of the hardware. But, you also... It does a lot of stuff right, too, but I definitely put it behind the original.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, it... Especially in retrospect, like looking back, when it first came out, it was, oh my god, this is amazing, it's portable Metroid, it's fucking whatever, and like, we made a lot of allowances for that game back in the day. Whereas, you look at it with a modern eye, and it's like, man, this is hard to play.
Yeah,
it's hard to get through.
For me, I played it on the Super Game Boy, which is where I played it initially. I played a little bit of it on the Game Boy itself and was like totally, wow, this is super cool. It's Metroid on the go, and I love these new things that you can do. But when I finally got my copy and played through it, I did it on TV on the Super Game Boy, which was a lot easier to see. The game works very well on a TV as opposed to the original dot matrix Game Boy. That said, it still had the same issues of it being like, it feels very claustrophobic. Not because you're running through tunnels, but because you can't see very far ahead of you. And, there's a lot of things about it that are repetitive. And it's just the limitations of the hardware. But, the new design of Samus with the Varia suit and the big shoulder pads, the ability to shoot downward. There's
a lot of really smart additions.
Yeah, they just did a wonderful job. And the whole mythology of going back to SR-388, which was mentioned in the original instruction manual, and now you go into that planet to eradicate the species and fighting the Queen Metroid and all those the crazy evolutions of the Metroid. The character designs were so gross on those things. I loved them. And then the ending where you find the baby Metroid. And
it's so cool.
And it conveys what's happening, like, pretty darn well for something with no text or anything. You get there, it hatches, and it starts flying around you. I'm like, oh god, it's trying to kill me. Oh no, I think it likes me. And then it follows you and helps you out, and then you finish the game like, oh, what an interesting ending. Huh.
Yeah. I wonder if this is going to pay off.
Yeah. And then 1994 happened, and Super Metroid happened. There's no question that's going at the top of the list, right?
I mean, there's going to be discussions about later games and whether or not they unseat Super Metroid, but that is a difficult discussion to have because this is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, going in, I knew this was the game to beat because it's my favorite Metroid game. And, we're talking about what we think is the best Metroid game. It is my favorite Metroid game. And you're right, there's no other word that describes it better. It's an absolute masterpiece.
It is so perfectly balanced and paced and just looks gorgeous, and the atmosphere that was created in there. Again, very similar to Link to the Past. That fucking rain, man.
Yeah, right in the beginning, that rain.
Oh my god.
Or even before that, it's starting up with the last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace. Like, what? And then you go through that.
So well done.
The history of the Metroid franchise, showing beating Mother Brain in 16-bit, showing finding the Metroid baby in 16-bit. And everything is so well animated. That rain, the coming off of her footsteps, when she's walking, was like, this is unreal. This is unlike anything I'd ever seen. And you play it. You start in the corpse of the first game. You start at the end. That's all destroyed from when you set off that bomb at the end of Metroid. So like the continuity is there, like just insane.
And then as soon as you walk into that first screen, and you have the two big fucking statues, and you don't know what they are yet. You're looking at them, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is so fucking cool!" Like, what is that? I'm gonna start shooting at it. Well, I don't have missiles yet. I don't have. What can I do? I could do that. I could do. Fuck. And like, you start just figuring your way through this map.
The lights come on and start following you. Then you go back up the elevator, and the space pirates are there, and the music kicks in. It's like And the great boss battles. Crocomire is one of my favorites.
Crocomire is super cool.
You knock that thing into the lava, and the skin melts off its face while it's screaming. I was like, I almost feel bad for this thing. This is nuts.
Almost.
But then it jumps out at you as a skeleton, and then the skeleton crumbles to the ground. Oh my god, the speed booster, and then of course the whole ending sequence. One of the best things I've ever experienced in a video game. The whole thing with the baby Metroid coming back, the noise it makes, it is one of the best examples of storytelling through the video game medium, as in storytelling through gameplay, as in a way of telling a story that can't be done in any other medium because it's done through the gameplay.
Through the interactivity of the medium. It's a fucking high watermark. It's one of those things, like when we talk about A Link to the Past, like this was a fucking sea change. Like games were different after Super Metroid.
It was a whole new metric to measure things by, and it's like, damn, shit can be this good, this well thought out, this well balanced. And again, like the pacing of that game, the way in which you discover the power-ups and how well placed they are throughout the journey. Oh my god, it's just it's the kind of thing where, like, you ever see Once Upon a Time in Mexico where Johnny Depp's like, I order the same dish everywhere I go because I keep trying to find the best and I have to go into the back and kill the chef. Like, that's how I feel about this fucking game. Like, you just got to stop after you make something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you've done it. You beat video games. You beat video game development. Well done. Bully for you. God damn. How do you follow that shit up? And then they didn't for a long ass time.
No, they did not. And you can understand why.
Absolutely. Because, when you look at the Nintendo 64 and you look at what you did with Super Metroid and you think, how do we follow that? And
can you imagine how bad a Metroid game would have been on the N64?
I can imagine how bad it could have been, but then I see Castlevania Symphony of the Night on the PlayStation and think, well, if they went that route, how good
they
could
wouldn't
it have
have. Been? Oh my god, they wouldn't have, and they wouldn't have.
Yeah, Nintendo probably wouldn't have.
Can you imagine how ugly and unfortunate that shit would have looked? I'm so happy it didn't come out on the 64.
Yeah, if they went the 2D route, they probably could have done something really cool with it. But they didn't, and if they had gone with the 3D route with ugly, chunky-ass N64 graphics, that would have been gross. And I'm with you. I'm glad they did. Glad they didn't.
I just Super Metroid, absolutely brilliant game. Absolutely brilliant.
So fast forwarding all the way to 2002, we had...
what a chunk of time, man.
Right? That's a big old hunk of time. And then we got Metroid games pretty regularly for another chunk of time there, which was a wild time to be a Metroid fan. But 2002, they hit us with a double whammy of two Metroid games on the same day. and both are phenomenal. And this is going to be interesting to see where we rank them. First up, we'll say Metroid Fusion, which is the direct follow-up to Super Metroid. 2D Game Boy Advance game. It's pretty guided. It introduced a lot of talking, but not a lot of voice acting and not a lot of bad writing. It was interesting talking to get to know Samus a little bit better. Introduced a really interesting story element with the whole X-Parasite, and I love this game. I really do. And I gotta put it right below Super.
That's exactly where I was gonna say.
Yeah,
below Super. Like it's not quite there.
No, it is a worthy successor to Super Metroid because it changes so many things. It much like Metroid 2 to Metroid 1, it changed a lot of things that were for the better, but it ultimately doesn't reach that high watermark. Like Metroid Fusion was the first game to add that new weight to the way Samus moves. And while I love the way Samus moves in Super Metroid, how floaty she is, the new heavier jumping mechanics that they added for Fusion in every 2D game following it, I think is overall better. It gives everything a better feel, more fast-paced feel, and a more, for lack of a better word, realistic. Like it's always going to be, complete ridiculous fantasy, but
sure,
she's wearing this giant heavy metal suit and, she's very, very light in the air. I like that she has more gravity to her from this game forward. It tries really hard to reach that Super Metroid thing. Like it tries really hard to recreate the ending of Super Metroid with the SAX coming to your rescue. But then and it doesn't quite hit that mark, but everything else with the SAX is super cool because
it's so scary. It really fucking is scary.
The whole dark version of the main character is a trope that is played out everywhere, particularly in Nintendo games. That stuff's everywhere. But
yeah, the
SAX was different because the SAX wasn't like Dark Samus. I mean, Dark Samus wasn't really like, Dark Link or whatever, but we'll have that conversation later. The SAX was something else entirely. The SAX was like, okay, so one of the cool things about Metroid games is that by the end of the games, you were insanely powerful. Like you were just this tank of destruction. And then they had a story reason for you to lose all your abilities in this game, but not only lose all your abilities, but become to a certain degree weaker to certain things. And the SAX is you at your full potential, but just a killing machine. Like it doesn't have a personality.
No conscience. Yeah.
It's an animal that's imitating. That's what that animal does. Is it imitates the strongest thing it can find. And it's like, well, this thing can fight Metroids and Metroids eat us. So I'm going to be this thing now. And that's terrifying. It was so cool.
Yeah. It was very, very cool. Right below it though.
Yeah, I definitely put it right below it, and but above Metroid. All right, interesting question time. Where do we put Metroid Prime?
We're skipping over Zero Mission?
Zero Mission didn't come out till 2004.
Oh, yeah, good point. All right, good point.
Prime released on the same day, so...
Yeah, all right, that's fine. Fuck, man, I think it has to go below Fusion.
Really?
Yeah.
See,
I can see the arguments for putting it above Fusion, but
I put it above myself. But now, give me your rationale for that.
Ultimately, it just comes down to play style preference, and I prefer Metroid in 2D. As good as the 3D is, I prefer the 2D experience of Metroid. I think they did a lot of really, really great things in Prime, and you're going to talk about those great things, whereas what I would say about it is that as great as those things were, I spent the entire time playing that game wondering what it would have been like in 2D. And that's some me shit.
Yeah,
I totally understand that.
Here's why I put it above Fusion. And we'll probably hit this up for the rest of it. This is probably the only 3D Metroid that I would put above Fusion. Prime.
I think that goes without saying.
Yeah, Prime was something in. All right, it definitely goes above Return of Samus. It definitely goes above the original Metroid. It definitely does not catch up to Super Metroid.
No.
the reason I put it above Fusion is because, one, there's just a lot more game there.
That's fair.
The level of immersion that was in that game, for as cool as the SAX stuff was, the feeling of being Samus inside the helmet, that was new. Prime did that shit before anybody else did. I mean, I'm sure there's some PC game at some point that did it at some point that I had never heard of before. Somebody's going to be like, no, you're wrong. This game did it first. But it's my understanding that feeling of a first-person game where, like, you're running around and, like, the rain hits your visor or bugs will splatter on your visor. The HUD is Samus's HUD.
Right.
The game itself is from her perspective, not just, like what first-person shooters were before that, where it's like, this is just the perspective of the camera and you're seeing this, but you're also seeing, like, all these other images and stuff. No, this was 100% from Samus's perspective.
Right.
And the genius of the way they handled the morph ball and all of that in 3D, and the fact that it still felt like a Metroid game in 3D was amazing to me. And I think what really puts it above Fusion is, if we're comparing 1-to-1, is I think Prime handles story better than Fusion does. Because Fusion fell into the trap of just being exposition dump after exposition dump. And Prime did this great thing of being like, well, we have all this interesting lore, but it's all optional to you. You can scan as much as you want, and you can learn as much as you want about the history of this planet. You can read computers that the space pirates have been working on, so you can find out what they've been up to, and you can read all these interesting bits about how, like, there had to be a post put up somewhere because the space pirates are like, you can't keep Metroids as pets, stop trying, they're gonna kill you. Or the wonderful bit about, like, we've been attempting to recreate Samus's morph ball for ages, and everybody's dying because it doesn't make any sense. It continues to confound us, but we're going to keep trying. Like, it took so much of Metroid mythology and not just brought the gameplay into 3D, but it really brought the world of Metroid into 3D in ways that I never could have imagined working as well as they did. And the fighting Metroids in 3D, the way it used the different weapon abilities, like, the wave beam had been around since the first game, but this was the first game where they really focused on the fact that it was electric-based attacks, which is why it was able to go through different things. The way they handled the ice beam, the Sheegoth monsters, there's so much more creativity in a lot of the monster designs, whereas Fusion pulls most of its monster designs from Return of Samus. And, Metroid Prime just did so much new. And of all the 3D Metroid games, which I just played all of them, Prime 1, there's something special about that one. There's something really, really special about that specific one. And while all the other 3D games are very good in their own right, Prime 1, I just think I think it has to edge out Fusion.
All right, I'm easy. You have.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Because like I said,
it's tight. It's close. Fusion is great, but I think Fusion is a great game. I think Prime is also a masterpiece.
I'll be really interested to see where you come down on Zero Mission then.
That's going to be tough.
That's an interesting one for me.
That's the next game, 2004's Metroid Zero Mission.
Because I will say that in how I would have ranked this, would right now have been Fusion, or would have been Prime, Fusion, Zero Mission, Super Metroid. I would put Zero Mission above Fusion. Mostly because it took everything about that.
You just screwed me up with you said...
I'm sorry.
What did you say your ranking was? Because what you just told me was that Prime was in the first spot.
No. And then so I would go Prime at 4. Sorry, I was going backwards.
Oh, you're reading backwards. Okay, got it. Okay.
Prime, Fusion, Zero Mission at 2, Super Metroid at 1. And the reason that I would put Zero Mission so high is because while, yes, we had already played this game, it took every issue that was present in the first Metroid, and just it made it, in my opinion, as good a game as Super Metroid. But it only gets knocked down a little bit because it did it like afterwards. I think
there are a few other things that I say
so brilliant.
There are a couple of other things that I say puts it below Super Metroid, but that's it. It goes in the number 2 spot under Super Metroid. I do think
it has to, right?
As Prime is a masterpiece, but so is Zero Mission. Zero Mission is probably the best remake I could ever have possibly imagined. Like, the only problems I have with this game mostly stem from the fact that it's on Game Boy Advance. So that, some controls are limited, and some like, I wish the screen was larger. There was a larger playfield so I could see more of the world. But outside of that, like, everything you said was right. The things that pull it back from Super Metroid is that it doesn't have the same impact for a lot of the battles and stuff. Like the Kraid battle is absurdly easy. And it's pretty darn easy in Super Metroid, but it also had the shock value of the way Kraid shows up. You just walk in a room and there he is in Zero Mission. And in Super Metroid, you start off fighting half of them and then that dude stands up. And they had the fake Kraid before that too, to kind of throw you off. Like, there's a few tiny little things in Zero Mission like that I would ding it for being just below Super Metroid in the overall department, but God, this game is so good. I'm replaying it again. I just replayed it a few months ago for my whole Metroid playthrough, and I'm playing it again because it's just so good. The music, the way they redid the music,
it's absurd.
So good. It looks amazing. The bright colors they used for this game are great. And then I know there's definitely people out there that have made the end stealth mission controversial, which I don't get because I think it is nothing shy of genius.
It's awesome.
That stealth segment is amazing, and I do not love stealth segments.
No, I fucking hate them. But the balls to add on to the original Metroid, like, not only are we remaking this game, but we're going to give you new shit in here. And we're going to make it fit and make it work. And we're going to get a whole new costume for Samus and make that shit work and make it make sense. And all of this stuff that we're adding, 20 years later, 15 years later, whatever the fuck it was, and have it not be terrible. It was a fucking miracle.
Yeah,
the fact that it is so
mythology
good
to it with the Chozo.
Oh my goodness.
They even drew Old Bird in there from like the Metroid manga and stuff. Like,
it's brilliant.
Man, oh man.
It is for my money, it is Super Metroid is 1 and Zero Mission is like 1A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't even argue that it's so far down as to be like, this is clearly the second best game. I mean, they are just right there.
See, that's kind of how I feel between Zero Mission and Prime. I personally feel like Super Metroid is far and away the number 1, and then Zero Mission and Prime are pretty close to tied for 2, though I got to give the edge to Zero Mission. Like, Zero Mission is 2 and Prime is 2A. But, we're splitting hairs here. Game's a masterpiece. Game's just a straight-up masterpiece.
So good.
All right, now we get to a different kind of interesting, because now we know we're talking about games that are not going to reach that high pantheon. I don't think there's anything else here that's going to come close to breaking up those top 3, possibly even those top 4. So,
yeah.
Where do we put Metroid Prime 2 Echoes?
Oh, man. See, this is where I started to not love the Metroid games very much. And like, for me personally, I would put it below the original Metroid. But I feel like that's kind of absurd and it needs to go below Fusion.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. There's definitely a part of me that wants to say it goes below the original Metroid, and then I think about all the stuff that Echoes does right.
Yeah. It just can't.
It's close for me, like, because I do love the original Metroid, and I'll go back and play the original Metroid more often than I'll go back and play Echoes, but I won't finish the original Metroid unless I'm like playing with a code or something, any more than I'll finish Echoes. Because it just comes a point where a lot of that stuff, since I don't have it memorized, muscle memory, the whole game top to bottom muscle memory like I do Blaster Master, for example, it feels tedious and kind of stops being fun at a certain point.
It just becomes a chore. Yeah,
and Echoes has some of those similar problems, but, you know, it has a lot of good stuff in it too. I don't know, man. Now I'm kind of second guessing myself. It definitely goes above Return of Samus.
Yeah, I don't feel like our list can be taken seriously if we put Prime 2 below the original Metroid, considering what Zero Mission is. Right?
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah, that just doesn't like, because Zero Mission is the far superior way to play the original Metroid. Like, if you have a choice, should I play the original Metroid or Zero Mission? Like, you should play Zero Mission. If you have to pick one or the other, you should play them both. But if you have to pick one or the other, play Zero Mission. Like, that's not even a question.
Agreed.
So, all right,
yeah. I'm with you. I'm really having a hard time with that one, but I think I can swallow that particular bundle of joy. Prime 2 does do a lot of good things. I have like this weird taste in my mouth from that game that, like, parts of it I didn't love, but parts of it I really did. So yeah, I agree. I think overall it is a more not a more important game than the original Metroid,
certainly
but
not.
It is definitely a more well-crafted, you know, cohesive experience. All right,
the rest of this,
one.
I think, is where it's going to get interesting.
This is a tough one. Metroid Prime Pinball. Where do we put that game? It's so good, but it's so different.
It's so different. It's almost unfair to rank it against the other ones, but I think it would go below the original Metroid, but above Return of Samus. I think. It's certainly more fun.
Above Prime 2, but
I mean, I could see the argument for above the original Metroid because it's a really good pinball game.
But at the end of the day,
that has Metroid elements in it.
Like, it really works.
It does.
It's so good.
It really does.
But I mean, I do agree with you. I think it has to go below the original Metroid because it is effectively a fairly limited experience. I mean, it's got a bunch of tables and stuff. It's a very good pinball game. But is it a better game than Metroid?
I just don't think it is. Is it a better game than Metroid 2? I think you can definitely make that argument, considering what we all know is coming up at the end of this list, and considering the limitations of what the Game Boy was at the time. I think you can make that argument.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm happy with that placement. Prime Pinball goes, after that. All right. Prime Hunters. I think that goes to the Prime Hunters from 2006, right? Because we're looking at Prime and Fusion were 2002. Then we got Echoes in 2004 and Zero Mission in 2004. Prime Pinball in 2005. And now Prime Hunters in 2006, which I think goes at the bottom of the list currently.
You think Prime Hunters below Metroid 2?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, having played through the game top to bottom, it is way better than I ever thought it was. It's got a lot of cool stuff in it, a lot of great new character designs, but it is similar to Return of Samus. It is very hindered by the hardware it was created for. Similar to Return of Samus, you have to fight the same bosses over and over again, but I would rather fight the Metroids in Return of Samus over the repeated, weird pillar and whatever the hell else boss with the had to fight over and over again in Hunters. And the fact that the jumping was mapped to, there was no good way to jump in that game with the other controls. Jumping being mapped to double tapping the screen being the most useful way to jump still wasn't quite. There were so many very frustrating points during Hunters, and I really, really appreciate the game's ambition, but Metroid 2 was equal, I think, for its time, equally ambitious, but more successful in its ambition than Prime Hunters was.
I would agree with that. Metroid Prime Hunters is really a game where it's like, you really didn't have to put this on the DS. You could have just put this on the GameCube or whatever, because it was GameCube at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
you could have put this on the GameCube, and like,
idea was,
I know why you did what you did, but you didn't have to.
The DS can do. They wanted.
You could have made a way better game,
and they did.
Because that game with like good controls, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, that game would be really cool to be remade. But I also respect that at the time, putting this game on the DS was like a technical showpiece. Like, that was the point of this game. Like, look what this handheld can do. I would love to see this game get remade. It's never going to happen because I don't think the game was anywhere near successful enough to earn a remake status, but boy, would it be cool to have this game properly remade, and because there's a lot to love about it. But I think currently it belongs at the bottom of the list.
It becomes one of those frustrating things where like I just don't want to play Metroid this way.
Yeah.
I just don't want to.
I'm glad I did, but I don't want to again.
Yeah,
I'm probably not going to go back to this game.
This isn't a fun way to do this. Or not that it's not a fun way, but there's a better way.
Yeah, there's a better way, and it was more interesting than it was fun. Which isn't to say it's bad. It's still pretty darn good.
Still pretty good.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about the next game on the list.
Yeah, 2007's Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Man,
do I not want to play that game that way.
I was really okay with this. Like, I definitely see the merit to the pointer controls, and the fact that it's pointer, not, waggle, is great. However, this game is, when I was playing through it, I really realized how much of that motion control stuff really got jammed all over this game with like flicking switches and stuff, which seemed really novel at the time, but is now just kind of annoyed the heck out of me.
Well, and especially now that you are in an environment where your Switch, or not your Switch, your fucking Wii does not work as well as it did in a previous setup.
Yeah.
The frustration that comes when that is not perfect makes it unplayable.
It certainly made it more difficult than I wanted it to be to play through. But that said, the game is really good. I think I like it better than Echoes. Just as a Metroid Prime game overall, I think I like it better than Metroid Prime 2.
See, I would put it below the original Metroid. But I feel like that is probably unfair due to my frustration with the controls that I could just never get them to work in the house that I was in.
I almost feel the same, that like I would put it under the original Metroid, but I also don't think that I can put it under Prime 2. Like, just as a thing that was put together, I think if I'm comparing just the Prime games, I think this is a better game than Prime 2 overall. Because the thing about this game is that it took you to so many really interesting places. The different planets that you would travel to were really cool. Like the Sky Temple and whatnot were really awesome with the rail system, and you didn't have as many interesting power-ups. Now, there was a lot of like that corruption thing where you would do the hyper beam and whatnot, which was neat. I do think that I like this game overall better than Echoes, but not by a lot. But then I'm struggling again with the position of having Prime 2 and Prime 3 above the original NES game, and
I don't know. I would put it, like I said, I would put it below the original Metro. That is where it would go for me.
All right, so it definitely goes above Pinball.
Yes.
Controls put it for you below Metroid.
Because that, like, I know I've like joked and bitched about it and whatever, but
but you're 100% right.
My Wii and my Wii U, for the most part, where I lived, and no matter how I tried to set it up, was unplayable for motion controls.
that being said, the other stuff that we've been ranking, we haven't really been holding the limitations of the hardware against the game itself. We're just ranking the games themselves. So while
but we did just put Hunters at the bottom because of
because of that
to
a point, but also because of many other reasons that game belongs underneath there. In prime conditions, Prime 3, like, say, supposing you are playing the game and you're not having light issues interfering with your Wii remote, Prime 3, I think is just a better game than Echoes. And if we're not, God, just because then I'm thinking back to playing Prime 2 with the regular GameCube controls, and I don't know if that's more or less infuriating than playing it with that.
See, I would make the argument that you're right. In ideal situations, Prime 3 is probably a better game than Prime 2. The fact that you could play that game through no fault of your own in less than ideal conditions
is not the game's fault. That's the Wii's fault. And I don't know that I want to hold that's a problem with the controller itself, not a hardware limitation of, like, you know, it's not like the double tapping doesn't work in Prime Hunters. It's just not the greatest way to play it. We're arguing against the Wii's problem, not Metroid Prime 3's problem.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like it above the original Metroid. I certainly don't like it above Metroid Prime 2. I'm not going to fight you too hard on that.
Well, what if we move the original Metroid above Prime 2?
That would make me feel better, I think. Sleep a little better tonight.
I think I'm with you. I think the original Metroid's got to move above Prime 2, and then I will agree to put Corruption below Prime 2 in that instance.
Yeah, I think that works.
Because the more I think about it, the original Metroid, for all of its faults, I go back to that game. There's something more special about that game than Echoes, I think. And while I do ultimately think Corruption is a better game than Echoes to a degree, it's also held back more than Echoes from that motion control stuff. So even if we take out the this whole thing with the whether or not the Wii remote's actually working, the stuff there, you have to, like, twist the Wii remote to put things in and pull it back to pull switches and stuff like that. It all feels very tacked on. And it also has maybe a little bit too much story stuff happening, like voice acting going on.
A little bit.
And something about the ending felt a little stilted. Like, the game wanted me to care more about these other bounty hunters more than I did. And I didn't think their designs of the other bounty hunters weren't even, I don't think, as good as the other bounty hunters in Hunters were.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, the girl who could shape change and, the robot dude. I thought the ice guy was really cool, but the other two were, like, you know, kind of take them or leave them. So, yeah.
It's a game that certainly, I think, if we revisit this list in, like, 5 years, and there you go, there's some content 5 years down the road.
Yeah, if we ever do
go back
get
and
the remasters where we can play this with dual analog controls,
this game is going to age very poorly, I think. Because you're right, like, looking at it now, there's still a little bit of that, like, oh, this is still pretty dope, though. Like, the motion controls are a little annoying, but, like, that is just not a thing that is carried over to gaming. Mm-hmm. You know, like, it's just not a thing we do. It didn't revolutionize the way we control games. And when they pop up in games now, we're like, oh, fuck. I don't want to do this. This is stupid. You know?
Well, I do think that if this game does get the remaster treatment, though, where we just
give me
play
dual analog,
then we're having a different conversation.
Then we're talking about Prime 2, and Prime 3, like, possibly being up above Zero Mission.
I don't know about that.
Possibly those games.
Maybe Prime 1, but Prime 2 and Prime 3, I don't think will ever, even with dual analog controls, I don't think they I don't think they can cross the threshold that is Zero Mission. Because the thing about Prime 2 and Prime 3 is that those games, much like the first Prime, which I forgive to a more of a degree because the rest of it's done so well, but Prime 2 and Prime 3 all have that end game, track down a bunch of random stuff all over the game.
Yeah, that's true.
That weird quest at the end that it's in all three of the games. You've got to go through and find these just little miniature things in these rooms that you've walked past dozens of times, and you've got to traverse long distances to get there. It's just this weird bit of padding that's in all three of the games, and I feel like it's the least offensive in the original Prime. But man, when I got to that part, doing the thing in Prime Echoes, Echoes, and then Corruption again, finding the power cells in Corruption was like, you've got to be kidding me with this. Just come on, stop.
It's a little better than the room after room of guys, but is it at the same time?
Yeah, I don't even think it is. I think it's just obnoxious. Like it's neat to a degree where you go through and like, well, now I have all these abilities. Let's see what else I can find. But in Echoes and Corruption in particular, it didn't feel like that. It felt like just, I got to walk all the way over here now? Oh, my God.
Here's more work I got to do.
It felt like work. It stopped being fun at that point. And then you get to the last areas in the games, and those are really cool. But that last chunk before you get to the last areas is always a hassle in those games.
It's work. Yeah. That's a good point.
All right. Metroid Other M, 2010.
It's got to go right to the bottom.
No, you're 100% right. It goes right to the bottom. Which isn't to say that it's not as far behind Hunters as I would think, because of how angry this game makes me. But it is. It is definitely. It does. I think the good stuff in Other M is done better than the good stuff in Prime Hunters. But the bad stuff in Other M outweighs the good and is so much worse than anything in Hunters.
Yeah, it's disrespectful of the source material in a way that, like, what we were talking about earlier with He-Man. Like, instead of, like, they could have done the He-Man show and turned Teela into this, like, sobbing, broken, scared little girl. But instead, they made her a badass. And in this one, Samus is still a badass, but she's also scared of Ridley when Ridley should be fucking scared of her.
Yeah.
Ridley should be looking like out the window and like, fuck. This motherfucker again. I'm dead. I got nothing. This girl has killed me twice already or 3 times, whatever the fuck it is at that point. Like, the characterization is all wrong. It is disrespectful to the source material.
Then there's the story itself. The story itself, which is just like, all right, so Ridley's back, but he's kind of been cloned, and he's a chicken, like an actual chicken with white feathers and a beak and weird teeth.
It's weird.
There's also Adam and weird daddy issues all over the place with Adam Malkovich. He sacrifices himself for no discernible reason. It ultimately doesn't mean anything. There's the Other M, the mother brain android thing, the way it plays really fast and loose with the pre-established canon that already seems to be kind of wiped out by this point from games that follow it. And then there's the gameplay itself, the map itself. We did this already with Fusion, having a whole game on a spaceship thing, and it was done way better in Fusion. This bottle ship was not a very interesting series of environments. There's a great combat system marred by the fact that you have to play this with a Wii Remote held sideways, and it doesn't feel very good to control a character in 3D space with a D-pad. It just doesn't.
No, never has.
And that was not a technical limitation. That was a mandate. That was a
choice.
That was a choice. It does so many great things. The screw attack, the speed booster, all working great in 3D. The boss battles, this crazy cinematic close quarters combat stuff that it does. They do so much stuff right in this game, but they constantly shoot themselves in the dick. Like, as soon as they do something cool, they follow it up with something unfathomably stupid. And for all of the good this game does. It just cannot stop. It cannot stop stomping on its own dick. It's ridiculous.
No, it can't. It is very much a Paula Abdul song. MC
Sorry, you're going to need... I'm going to need an explanation. Go on.
The 2 steps forward?
Yes. Opposites attract. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. All right.
No, very much. But it's more like 2 steps forward and 10 steps back.
It really, like, it's just so crazy. And it's so interesting, I think, to, like, look at what they were trying to do. And they were like, we're going to fucking change everything you know about Metroid. And by doing that, we're going to tell just the most generic by the book story we possibly could. Like in an effort to be like edgy and different, which is what Team Ninja was known for at that point. They just told a formulaic anime nonsense story that doesn't work for Samus. It just doesn't. Like that game with literally any other character that they could have created would have been like, this is fucking amazing.
I don't think so. I don't think so, man. The story itself betrays Samus as a character, absolutely. But even if it didn't betray Samus as a character, even if it didn't make her into a whiny, petulant kid, even if it didn't do that, there's still so much else that's so thoroughly and fundamentally broken about the game. That's the least of that game's sins to a degree. It's terrible, but just from a making this game work standpoint, like they show you where all the items are on the map. They don't show you what room they're in. They show you where they are. There's nothing to explore in this game. There's very little in the way of alternate routes. They took the core of what made Metroid and they took it away. They tried to make it something that it's not, and they did a very bad job of doing it.
It is definitely not a Metroidvania.
It's not, and it could have been. There's so much promise in the core of its design, and I really, really hope that if Dread is as successful as I think it's going to be, that they try this again, that they try putting Samus in 3D using the bones of Other M, but do the storytelling the way they've been doing it since Samus Returns, and theoretically seem to be doing it in Dread as well. Don't do this. There are hours of cutscenes in this game. Yeah. There's so much cutscene, and there's so much talking. There's so many bland, pointless characters. There's the whole bits in the game where you have to find a pixel, where they're like, now you're in first person, and you cannot move until you search with the Wii remote and find this one dot that we want you to find, and we're going to be really opaque about what we want you to find in the first place. Then there's the bits where you'll be running, and then all of a sudden it goes to that Resident Evil 4 over the shoulder thing that's like, oh wow, this is really cool for like 4 seconds. Then you're like, could you pick up the pace, please? Because she's running full tilt the entire game, because you only have one running speed because there's no analog controls, but she sprints full tilt everywhere she goes. And then you get to these scenes that are supposed to build tension, but half the time they're just rooms with nothing in them, and you're just like, walk, 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 and there's nothing scary going on. It's like, what are you doing? Like, so I understand the want to say, like, yes, if they didn't do the character assassination, this would be a really cool game, but it wouldn't. This game is broken on so many fundamental levels. It is a fascinating game, and there's a good game under there, but it is a bad game. It is it is the only thing on this list that I would legitimately say is a poorly made game. And it's not, and what's so infuriating about it is it's not like this was a victim of, like, you know, weird circumstances. It went through development hell. No, this was the game they set out to make.
Yeah,
Sakamoto
they did exactly what they wanted.
And he still stands behind this game. He's like, no, I did exactly what I wanted to do with this game. I pulled off exactly what I aimed for, and it was bad. And and it's so upsetting because it's not as bad as, like, the reputation is. It's not pure trash. There's fascinating, genuinely good, fun stuff to do in this game. I had fun playing through it again, but I had to overlook so many really bad decisions to get to the fun point. So yes, dead last on the list thus far, but not quite as bad as it could have been, I guess.
Now, where does that put Federation Force?
For me, Federation Force goes dead last, and I'll tell you why. Other M is a bad game. Other M is a worse game than Federation Force, but it's also a more interesting game. I cannot be bothered to play Federation Force, but I just replayed Other M top to bottom, and I had fun doing it. Despite its flaws, there's still a lot of fun to be had in that game. I think Federation Force is fine. And I think that's a worse sin than being bad but interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that is like the worst thing you can possibly say about something. It's
fine.
That's not good.
Yeah. There was no question going into this that Federation Force was going to be at the bottom of my list. And maybe I would feel differently if I played this game multiplayer the way it's supposed to be played. Maybe I would feel differently if I got together with a group of people and played this game the way I played Four Swords. But the amount of it that I've played so far doesn't make me believe that that's true. I see what they're going for, and I understand it. I just don't think it's very good.
I'm not interested in what they're going.
I'm not interested in being a chibi Federation soldier inside a very slow mech. The game it doesn't feel good to play this game at all, and that's one of the most important things you can do in a Metroid game is have the game feel good to play. And
I mean, that's one of the most important things you can do in a video game.
100%
like if it
right.
doesn't feel good to play, what's the point?
But it doesn't feel good to like in the way of something like, say, Steel Battalion, where you're controlling this giant clunky mech, but it feels powerful and you're flicking all these hundreds of buttons or something. This doesn't have that. It has this weird somewhere in between. Like it doesn't feel good, heavy, slow moving mech, but it doesn't feel awesome, fast moving Samus. I don't know what they were really trying to do here. And it's weird because this, Next Level Games doesn't make bad games. And
but
I guess
boy, did they.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's just a game.
And that bothers me because it's a Metroid game that I can't bring myself to really want to finish. Like I should want to play through that game, but I don't. I just don't.
Yeah, and like I said, that is, I think, the most terrible thing a piece of entertainment can be. It's fine.
Agreed.
Fine.
Other M is legitimately a worse game, but it's far more interesting and fun to play. Federation Force is fine.
Yeah.
So you get dead last to me, sir.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. Now, I do think the last game on the list, the last proper Metroid game, is perhaps the most interesting.
Yeah, I don't know where to put this one. I really don't know where this belongs.
Because my gut reaction for Samus Returns is that it's got to be up near the top.
I would agree with you. I understand why some people
far up?
Don't. All right. It's better than Federation Force, better than Other M, better than Hunters, better than the original Metroid 2.
Yep.
Right? Do we agree it's better than Metroid 2?
Yeah.
All right. Better than Metroid Prime Pinball?
Yep.
Better than Echoes and Corruption?
Yep.
Better than the original Metroid?
Yep.
Okay.
That's not even a question.
Better than Fusion?
I want to say yes. But
I'm right there with you. I think this is the question. I don't think it's going to top Prime. It definitely doesn't top Zero Mission or Super Metroid.
See, because for me, it would top Prime. Like, I would have no problem saying Samus Returns over Prime. I have a problem putting it over Fusion. Maybe.
Here's where I have a slight problem with Samus Returns, and it's because it's a lot of it has to do with because of the general structure of Return of Samus. Samus Returns is a bit less exploratory and less open because of the nature of the game that it's remaking. Now, it remakes that game extraordinarily well.
It adds spokes to the wheel. It
does. It does rely perhaps a bit too much on the parry system. I really got used to it. I found that I really enjoyed it, but I can understand that as a criticism, and I do think that maybe it does rely on it a bit too much. And the thing that I think puts it below Prime is that you fight the same enemies over and over again. And I'm not just talking about the bosses. I mean, like, the whole world itself, the planet of SR388 is neat, but it's nowhere near as interesting as Talon 4. Talon 4 has so many really weird creatures and interesting things in it, whereas SR388, you are fighting even more so than in the original Metroid 2. You're fighting the same monsters everywhere. Those little floaty bat things are like
are everywhere.
That is like a quantifiable percentage of the game is those things, and they really don't introduce too many
floaty bats,
right? And they don't introduce too many new monsters throughout the course of the game. They just don't, and it's really bothersome. Now, adding the what the heck was that? The what do they call that? I want to say the Mets system, but that's not it. It's the, like you absorb the yellow stuff to, like, you can use it to power up your gun to do rapid fire. You can do it to, look up details of your map. I forget what that system's called. That was really cool. I love that they added that. I love that they're bringing that back for Dread. It's just, there are a couple of things about it just because of its nature that I think make it not as interesting as Prime, but just barely. That said, that Ridley battle at the end is so good.
This is a tough one. Because, like, I ultimately, and again, personal things, but I ultimately want to put it below Fusion because I like the way Fusion looks better.
I also think that Fusion does more interesting stuff with its bosses. Overall,
I would agree with that.
The Ridley fight is super cool, but I mean, in this they did a lot of good stuff with those Metroid battles, but like you're just doing the same boss fight over and over again. And God, when they start running away, what a pain in the ass that is.
Yeah, it is.
And Fusion's really tight. Like, that game's really tight. I like the stuff that they did with Samus Returns with storytelling better than Fusion. Like, it's not as wordy as Fusion, not by a long shot. I think they did that extraordinarily well. But I do think maybe ultimately Fusion edges it out. And, like, I feel bad because I don't want it to seem like I don't like Samus Returns. Like, we're comparing masterpieces here. Like, we're comparing just such good games. But I think I would agree with you. I think it has to go below Fusion.
Yeah, I think it does.
It's so good, but, like, this is their first attempt at a Metroid, and they really knocked it out of the park. But no, they didn't knock it out of the park. They got, like, I want to come up with a good baseball thing here. They didn't knock it out of the park. But they
hit it to the warning track.
What do they call inside the park home run or something like that?
I mean, that is way more rare and amazing than anything else.
They hit a solid triple. They hit a solid triple.
Yeah, they hit a ground rule double. You were like, oh fuck, team was going to score, but the guy has to stop on third because it's a grounds rule double, and he can't go any further.
They laid some really impressive groundwork, and I can't wait to see where they go with Dread, but I don't think they quite topped. It's also really long, and
it is really, which is nice. I kind of like that.
It is nice,
but also it's not great for the portable format that it's on because you can't fucking play it anywhere else.
Oh my god! But then I just thought of the Digger Knot. God, that thing was cool.
It is.
God, remember when that thing shows up and you got to run away from it? Oh shit! But is that cooler than the SAX Infusion? And I don't think it is.
No.
Damn, that Digger Knot thing was so awesome.
Ultimately, I think what would put it below Fusion for me, and again, like, keep in mind Prime is below that. So for me, it would put it above Prime, but below Fusion, is the fact that I can't play this on my TV.
Yeah, that's a huge bummer.
This
I
game
don't think
on
it's
the
going to
TV,
be like that forever, but...
No, I don't think so either. This game, playable on a television, I do think we're having a different conversation.
I think it's going to involve a little bit more than just playing it on a TV, personally. I think needs to be...
Sure.
I think it needs to be slightly reworked with the controls mapping around, like, having more buttons and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's a different game. That's a different entry. That's something we would need to talk about in the future.
Overall, I think I'm pretty satisfied with this list, though. I would flip-flop Prime and Fusion, but I get the argument. But yeah, Super Metroid, number 1, Metroid Zero Mission, number 2, Prime, number 3, Fusion, number 4, Samus Returns, 5, the original Metroid at 6, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes at 7, Prime 3 Corruption at 8, Prime Pinball at 10, Return of Samus at 11, Metroid Prime Hunters at 12, Metroid Other M at 13, and Metroid Prime Federation Force at number 497.
At dead last for being completely not interesting. Yeah. So
it's a pretty solid list.
That's our list. I know it's getting late, but I think we got a couple of submitted lists over on the Discord.
Did we?
We did. So let's see what we come up with here. Looks like we just got 2. We've got one from Duroc Pig. Very quick thrown together list while at work. Admittedly, I have almost zero experience with the original NES version and no experience with Prime Hunters or Federation Force. And many of these I haven't played in a long time, so thinking back to my original reactions to them. Number 1, Super. Number 2, Prime. Number 3, Zero Mission. Number 4, Samus Returns. Number 5, Prime 3. Number 6, Fusion. Number 7, Metroid 2. Number 8, Prime 2. Number 9, Other M. 10, Metroid. 11, Prime Pinball. I feel bad putting pinball at the bottom because it's a damn good pinball game. And I said, well, you're in luck because you can put Federation Force under pinball.
Feel free to just chuck that below there.
Yes. Then we have Janich87 responded to me and said far, far below. So we've got Super Metroid, Zero Mission, Prime, Samus Returns, NES, Prime 2, Fusion, Prime 3, Metroid 2, Prime Hunters, Prime Pinball, Other M, ... Federation Force.
Yep, that's about right.
That was really close to ours, right? Super, Zero, Prime.
I feel like everybody's
got Samus Returns above. He's got Fusion way lower on the list than we do.
Yeah.
But other than that...
God, I love Fusion.
Pretty similar. And I think I do agree with our placement of Prime Pinball. I think that game really deserves to be where it is on the list. It's a damn good game.
Yeah, I think it's great.
All right, it's time to make our decision on what we're going to do next time. So our next episode is going to be our next Summer Series entry, or maybe the last Summer Series entry. I don't know. Are we still doing this in September? We kind of screwed the pooch on this one this year.
We did. Yeah, fuck it. We'll just keep doing it.
Yeah, sure. It's still summer somewhere. But anyway,
I mean, global warming, so, right. It's just hot forever.
It's Summer Series all day long.
Summer Series all year, baby.
So Dan and I each made a pick, and we're gonna talk about them. So my pick is a game that's been on my list for Summer Series for a long time. My list of games that I've wanted to try to play through for a very long time, and I pick Goonies 2 for NES.
Oh, that's a very good pick. It's a very, very good pick. I like that game a lot. I probably like it more than I will if I play through it again. I kind of want to keep it that way. My pick is a game that I don't have very much experience with, but I've always wanted to try it more than I have, and that would be the the NES Classic, referenced in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the Clash at Demon Head.
Wow.
So,
well, I just called Evan in. I said we need your tiebreaker, and I stand by it, because while I do want to play Clash of Demon Head, I kind of want to play Goonies 2 more. I don't know. What do you think, Evan?
The only reason I'm going with the game that I'm picking is because via a quick wiki search, the game that Dan has chosen is known in Japan as Dengeki Big Bang, and I feel that both of you should be playing that.
Fair enough.
That is
Clash
fair.
at Demon Head it is.
Clash at Demon Head it is, but for the I think we should automatically then say the next game in the summer series will also be Goonies 2.
That's fair. We'll do Goonies 2 for, if we're still doing this next month, then yeah, what the hell, let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
I mean,
sounds like a plan.
The Clash at Demon Head is such a good moment in Scott Pilgrim versus the World when fucking Envy Adams comes out onto the stage. Oh no. And the it's so good. But yes, Dengeki Big Bang is awesome. It is your main character's name in the Clash of Demon Head is Billy Big Bang Blitz.
Hence the Dengeki Big Bang. Like,
that's right.
There's a reason for the.
And this is a Vic Takai joint, Chris.
I know. I own this game. I have the actual cartridge.
I know you do. It's pretty expensive, isn't it?
Loose is 20, CIB 55.
Oh, that's not too bad. I mean, but this is the company that brought us fucking Psycho Fox and shit, and the Moffat Conspiracy, and the Cryon Conquest. I don't know what it is with me and Vic Takai games, Chris.
You like the weird shit.
I do like weird shit.
That's why you like me.
Hey, man. Fuck, man. I do really want to play Goonies 2, though. So definitely, yes, we will do that for the game after the Clash of Demon Head. But let's fucking do some Clash of Demon Head. We can even, like, Evan, you can put some music in there from the fucking Scott Pilgrim movie. I might go rewatch that movie now, because that movie's dope as shit. Reread the books.
You got a lot of work to do before the next week, I guess.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. It's so good, though.
We've been at this for a long time.
I know, I'm sorry. I don't have to go to work
up on
tomorrow.
hour 3. So
I feel like we cheesed out last week. Let's talk about Scott Pilgrim now, Chris.
All right, Johnny, have a good evening.
I'm tired, and Evan has to edit this. So.
Whatever.
How about I'll close the show, and then you can talk about Scott Pilgrim for as long as
I will just sit here this whole time. Like, oh my God, and then on page 3, panel 4. All right, do the thing, Dean.
Join us next week for the next entry in our summer series, Clash of Demon Head. We're on most social media platforms, and if you want to get in touch with us, we aren't very difficult to find. All it takes is a quick look at our show notes, and you'll see links to our social media accounts, as well as all manner of other fun stuff, like a link to our namesake, StoneAgeGamer.com, the Geekade Patreon, which helps keep this show running week after week, and more useful links than you can shake a joystick at. This show's theme song, Squared Roots, was written by Banjo Guy Ollie. You can learn all about his wonderful music and more by following the link to his YouTube channel, also in the show notes. And finally, as always, we'd also like to thank our intrepid editor Evan for breaking the tie and making this show listenable for all you folks. We'd like to thank all you folks for listening in the first place. Thanks again, everybody. On behalf of Dan, Evan, and myself, keep playing games.